Chapter 1037. Yi Xuanji's aura was incomparably sharp, even more so than before. Tang Zheng's eyes narrowed into two slits as he looked at him calmly. Tang Zheng, this is the Ye family, not just anyone can barge in. Yi Xuanji said in an unfriendly tone. Tang Zheng was unmoved and said, Is that so? Could it be that there's some unspeakable secret? Yi Xuanji's temples throbbed as he asked, What do you mean by that? Tang Zheng also stared straight at Yi Xuanji, as if he wanted to find some clues from his reaction. But Yi Xuanji was after all an old fox, so how could he be seen through so easily? There were no flaws at all. Just now, the guard came to report that you're here. Since you're a guest, I naturally wouldn't neglect you. But if you're here to cause trouble, even though my Ye family is weak, we're not that easy to bully. Yi Xuanji said firmly. Tang Zheng turned around and asked Qiyu and the inner demons if the Great Desolate Aura was nearby. After getting an affirmative answer, Tang Zheng made up his mind. Even though it wasn't good to barge in, this matter was still very important and he couldn't be careless. Moreover, the Ye family was his opponent. If he was too polite, it would seem hypocritical. His eyes flashed as he walked straight towards the direction of the Great Desolate Aura. 9 unspecified currency. Yi Xuanji slid and blocked his way. Their eyes met and sparks were already flying. If that's the case, then I won't be polite. After Tang Zheng finished speaking, he pushed his palms towards Yi Xuanji's chest. Yi Xuanji roared and quickly blocked with his palms. Bang! For palms collided, and Yi Xuanji was pushed back a few steps. But Tang Zheng didn't move at all, as if he was Mount Tai. Yi Xuanji's expression changed as he exclaimed, How did your cultivation become so high? Even though he had expected Tang Zheng's cultivation to be unfathomable, he had never thought that his cultivation would be so high. It was not just a little bit higher than the last time they fought. Moreover, his intuition told him that Tang Zheng didn't use his full strength. Otherwise he would have suffered even more. How did Tang Zheng do it? In just a few months' time? Could it be that cultivators are so much stronger than warriors? In the time it takes for a spark to fly off a piece of flint, many thoughts flashed through his mind, and his emotions fluctuated unsteadily. You're not my match, you can't stop me. Tang Zheng said lightly. He has the right to say this, not because he's arrogant. Ye's expression as the Ye family. How can I watch you barge into the Ye family without doing anything? How can my Ye family stand in front of the world? How can I let the Ye family? How can I the Ye family? How can I watch you the Ye family? If you, how can I? My family is right. How can I right? How can I the can I? How can I? Whoosh. After he finished speaking, a sword flashed and a sword appeared in his hand. The cold sword flashed towards Tang Zheng's throat. Tang Zheng's eyes flashed coldly as he stared at the approaching sword and thought, Why do I feel like I've seen this before? Suddenly his eyes lit up as he realized, wind-chasing sword art. No, this is definitely not the real wind-chasing sword art. It's a fake. His guess was not wrong. Ever since Yi Xuanji had seen Yi Dingdong's mysterious wind-chasing sword technique, he had been unable to get it out of his mind. Later on, he went into seclusion for a long time and devoted himself to studying it. Finally, he created this wind-chasing sword technique, but compared to the real wind-chasing sword technique, it was worlds apart. Tang Zheng smirked and said, Trying to imitate but making a fool out of yourself. A fake like you dares to act arrogantly in front of me? I'll let you see what the real wind-chasing sword art is. Tang Zheng casually plucked a branch from the side. With a flick of his wrist, the leaves fell and turned into a bare branch. Yi Xuanji's face slightly changed, but his sword attack did not weaken. Instead, it became sharper and filled with killing intent. To deal with you, this is enough. Tang Zheng calmly said. To Yi Xuanji, this was no different from a huge insult. His face turned green as he angrily said, You're courting death. Whoosh. The long sword arrived in front of Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng lightly waved the branch and pointed it out. The strength and speed were just right. When it touched the long sword, the branch bent into a full moon shape but did not break. Instead, the long sword received a huge rebound force. Wang. The long sword violently trembled. Yi Xuanji could not control it, and his hand involuntarily loosened. The long sword flew out of his hand and fiercely pierced into the roof, leaving the sword hilt trembling incessantly. Looking at this scene, Yixuanji was stunned. He had lost completely. He thought that he had comprehended the essence of the wind-chasing sword art, but he did not expect that he could not even withstand one of Tang Zheng's moves. Just now Tang Zheng's move was fast and accurate. It seemed to be light, but in reality, it had the power of 10,000 kilograms. It was the essence of the wind-chasing sword art. His face revealed an unprecedented look of despair. Tang Zheng did not continue to tangle with him, nor did he take advantage of the situation to attack him. After all, he was Yi Dingdong's grandfather and Yi Tianlei's father. If he really did something to him, then there would be a rift between him and Yi Tianlei's family. He turned into a gust of wind and swept past Yixuanji. This time he was too late to block. Why did the primitive aura disappear? Suddenly, Qiyu and the inner demons exclaimed. Tang Zheng was shocked. He had no choice but to stop and ask, "How did it disappear? Didn't you say it was very obvious?" "It was very obvious just now, but now it has disappeared." The two were helpless and also seemed to be very puzzled. Tang Zheng frowned and looked at the many rooms in front of him. The Ye family was a big house. It occupied a large area and there were many rooms. Without a clear target, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. Could it be that the person heard the fighting, so he noticed the situation and deliberately hid? The inner demons mumbled. Qiyu was surprised. He pondered for a while and analyzed logically. If that's the case, then this soul has probably succeeded in taking over the body. It might even have recovered a lot of its power. Moreover, it must have been a powerful master when it was alive, so it could hide the primitive aura. Hearing this, Tang Zheng was also shocked. If it had succeeded in taking over the body, then whose body did it take over in the Ye family? Didn't you say that you could easily detect the primitive aura? Why can the other party disappear under your nose now? Tang Zheng asked angrily. Qiyu hurriedly explained. Tang Zheng, don't slander us. We are just a strand of soul, and our strength is greatly reduced. If we were to occupy a body, then no matter how well the other party hides, they will not be able to escape our fiery golden eyes. The inner demons also agreed. That makes sense. Why don't you find a body for us and let us be reborn? Then these are all small problems. We will solve them for you in minutes. Tang Zheng sneered mockingly. Your plan is too good. Do you think you can fool me like this? Stop dreaming. If I let you take over my body and be reborn, wouldn't I be digging my own grave? How can that be? We have been together for so long. We have feelings for each other. We are close friends. The inner demons and Qiyu retorted. Stop dreaming. Quickly find a way to find the other party. Tang Zheng urged. The two of them fell silent at the same time. After a while, they said faintly, I'm afraid there is no way. No way. Tang Zheng stared with his eyes wide open. You were so confident before. Now you are breaking the chain. We don't want to either. The two of them mumbled, feeling wronged. I don't care. Anyway, if there is no way, now that we are here, I will not give up halfway. Tang Zheng purposely forced the two of them. Let's capture Yixuanji and interrogate him. Maybe we will get something. The inner demons suggested. Tang Zheng sneered. What kind of rotten idea is that? Do you think Yixuanji is a coward? You think he will listen to you just by scaring him? Don't we still have the soul-searching method? Qiyu said. Tang Zheng's head moved, but he immediately rejected this method. Just like killing Yixuanji, this would also cause a rift between him and Yi Tianlei's family. This was a last resort. He would not do this unless he had no other choice. So. Suddenly, several figures flew over from a distance and surrounded Tang Zheng. They were Yixuanji, Yi Tianming, and Yi Ke. Tang Zheng, you are too arrogant. Do you really think that the Ye family is a place where you can come and go as you please? Yi Tianming roared. Yi Ke indignantly scolded. Don't think that you can be arrogant by relying on your own weight. You can ride on top of our Ye family's head. This time, if you don't give us an explanation, don't even think about leaving. Tang Zheng's eyes wandered over the three of them. His eyes were burning like a scanner, as if he wanted to see through the three of them. Then who would the Yin general choose to be his puppet? The strong. The other party will definitely choose the strong. so that he can exert his strength to a greater extent. Qiyu quickly said. Tang Zheng's head moved and asked, the strong people of the Ye family are in front of him. Do you think he will choose one of the three? This possibility is not ruled out. The inner demons agreed. Just now, I fought with Yi Xuanji, and at that time, the great desolate aura still existed. That is to say, Yi Xuanji can be excluded. Then he can only choose between Yi Tianming and Yi Ke. Tang Zheng analyzed. His eyes swept back and forth between Yi Tianming and Yi Ke. Why are you looking at us like this? Yi Ke asked in a bad mood. Tang Zheng did not answer. Instead, he made a move. Yi Ke was still a few meters away. She saw Tang Zheng's big hand reach out and use the swallowing sky technique. A powerful suction force spread out from his palm. Yi Ke exclaimed and involuntarily flew towards Tang Zheng. Bang bang. His feet fiercely stomped on the ground, trying to stop his body. However, all this was in vain. He finally fell into Tang Zheng's palm. Tang Zheng, what are you doing? Yi Tianming roared. His son was captured. His mood could be imagined. With a roar, the long sword in his hand trembled. Swish swish swish. The sword bloomed in the sky. The man and the sword came together and stabbed towards Tang Zheng's heart. Chapter 1038. The branch in Tang Zheng's hand had not been thrown away. He shook the branch and faced the two people. Since they wanted to fight, then he would accompany them to the end. It was a good opportunity to test the two people's cultivation. With two swishing sounds, the branch was like a sharp sword, pointing at the two people's vital points. Since he wanted to test whether it was true or false, he naturally would not be merciful. He had to force the two people into a desperate situation. The branch accurately pierced the two people's bodies. However, the two people did not fall, nor did blood burst out. The two people's faces showed a sinister and strange smile, which made people's hair stand on end. What's going on? Tang Zheng was shocked. He was very clear on the power of his attack. With the cultivation of these two people, it was impossible for them to block it. Even if they were strong, it was impossible for them to do so. Could it be that these two people had already been taken over and reborn? Haha, Tang Zheng, your methods are useless. You should obediently accept your death. You have committed all kinds of crimes against our Ye family in the past. Today you will pay for them all. Yi Ke shouted ferociously. Tang Zheng frowned. Yi Ke was very different from what he usually saw. There was always a strange feeling that he could not explain. He immediately looked at Yi Tianming. The smile on the other side's mouth seemed to be particularly strange. Young man, don't you feel that something is wrong? The inner demon suddenly asked. What's wrong? Tang Zheng was confused. Qiyu said. You are really too stupid. You usually boast that you are smart. Why are you so stupid today? Can't you see such a simple flaw? Tang Zheng was more confused. Where was the flaw? Why did he not see it after looking for a long time? What flaw? Yi Tianming is already dead. How could he appear here? Qiyu asked. The inner demons echoed. Yes, isn't this a flaw? A big flaw. Yi Tianming is dead? Tang Zheng's eyes widened. Why did he not remember this? Really? Are you suffering from amnesia? Qiyu said snappily. You're the one with amnesia. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes and retorted. That's weird. There must be a problem. It's just that we haven't figured it out yet. Could it be that Yi Tianming was the one who was possessed and reborn? The inner demons were amazed. If only it was that simple. I think things are even more complicated. Qiyu said disapprovingly. After listening to the conversation between the two, Tang Zheng felt like his brain was turning into mush. He was getting more and more confused. It was as if something was wrong, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Before the three of them could come up with a solution, Yi Xuanji and the other two launched a fierce attack. In an instant, 3 swords were launched at the same time, attacking Tang Zheng together. Tang Zheng threw away the branch and changed to the War Soul Sword. He quickly slashed his sword. The air shook and the sword light directly penetrated Yi Xuanji's body. Yi Xuanji was safe and sound. Instead, he revealed a proud smile. His long sword flew out of his hand and slashed at Tang Zheng. Clang! The War Soul Sword forced the sword back. However, The long sword didn't fly away. Instead, it made a circle in the air and turned back. Imperial sword technique. Tang Zheng was too familiar with this scene and couldn't help but exclaim. Yi Xuanji was a martial artist. How could he know the imperial sword technique? This didn't make sense at all. Whoosh! The long sword flew out again. This time, it was faster and more accurate. It was completely an attack of the wind-chasing sword technique. It wasn't the unorthodox attack that Yi Xuanji used before. Instead, it was the essence of the wind-chasing sword technique. With the combination of the imperial sword technique, the power of this attack increased sharply. Even Tang Zheng felt a huge pressure. Tang Zheng quickly raised his sword to block. He felt as if he had suffered a heavy blow. His arm went numb, and the War Soul sword almost flew out of his hand. No, no! The inner demons and Qiyu shouted at the same time. This isn't real. We finally know why the great desolate aura disappeared. It's because we've already fallen into a trap. Fallen into a trap? Tang Zheng's expression was strange. He didn't know what to do. Yes, all of this is fake. There's no difference between a fake and a real one. It actually deceived all of our eyes. The inner demons let out a long sigh. I finally know who the great desolate aura is. Only he can do this and deceive all of us. Qiyu said indignantly. Hung, I also know who you're talking about. I didn't think that this person wouldn't stop even after he died. He came out to stir up trouble, and even hit my head. Seeing the two speak with righteous indignation, Tang Zheng quickly asked, Who are you talking about? Nightmare. Who is he? This person was one of the generals under the Yellow Emperor. Many of my 9 Li tribe's warriors died in his hands. Qiyu said hatefully. What kind of ability does he have to be so powerful? Nightmare's ability is something that no one else has. In this world, he is the only one who knows his magic. He also doesn't have a successor because his talent is too special. No one can stand shoulder to shoulder with him. He created a set of spells for himself, called Traceless Dream of Heart. What's so powerful about this magic? Qiyu gave a heavy snort, as if he didn't want to talk about it. The inner demons said, Do you usually dream? Of course I dream. Everyone dreams. The nightmare's power lies in its ability to create a dreamscape. Then without leaving a trace, it can silently lure people into a dream. In a dreamscape, anything is possible. It's like a heavenly steed soaring across the sky. It doesn't stick to a certain pattern. Moreover, the person who enters the dreamscape won't know that they're dreaming because it's too real. The two of us are inside your body and haven't been attacked by the nightmare. That's why we can see through everything. When you dream, do you dream of someone who has already passed away? Then you don't think that they're dead and you even talk to them like a normal person? The inner demons asked. Tang Zheng nodded. This kind of situation was too common. Most people would have encountered it at least once. So, right now we're in a dreamscape created by the nightmare. That's why we're like this. The dead come back to life, the enemy becomes stronger. These kinds of things that surpass common sense can only happen in a dreamscape. But the nightmare's power lies in the fact that even though it's a dreamscape, once you're killed by the enemy, you'll really die in the dreamscape. Those who are lured into the dreamscape by the nightmare's traceless dream will be trapped in the dreamscape if they can't break out of the dreamscape. The nightmare will always think of ways, and even deliberately create nightmares to make people die in their dreams. These words enlightened Tang Zheng. His heart was as clear as a mirror, and his eyes lit up. Everything in front of him seemed to distort. The air violently fluctuated, and the trees and houses around him became faintly discernible. The smiles of the 3 people in front of him became increasingly strange, causing his heart to feel cold. This is all fake. I'm dreaming. Tang Zheng shouted himself hoarse. Boom. With a loud noise, the whole world seemed to collapse. The faces of the 3 people in front of him became blurred. He only heard a shrill cry. How did you see through it? The scene in front of him suddenly changed. The 3 people disappeared, and everything around him became clear again. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 sounds came from afar. In the blink of an eye, 2 people came in front of him. Looking closely, it was Yi Xuanji and Yi Ke. Tang Zheng's pupils suddenly shrank. He said in his heart that this was not a dream. Of course it's not a dream. This is reality. Although the nightmare spell is powerful, once it's a dreamscape, it can quietly withdraw. However, once trapped, it's really difficult to recognize that you're in a dreamscape, so you can't withdraw at all. Unless you have a really great magical ability, otherwise, in the face of the nightmare spell, you're really powerless. The nightmare once said that when he cultivates the heart's dream traceless spell to the extreme, even if it's a magnificent army, he can quietly lure them into a dream and eliminate them all in the dream. The inner demons introduced. Tang Zheng's head moved, and said, "Then during the Battle of Zhuolu, did the nightmare also use the heart's dream traceless spell?" Qiyu snorted coldly and said, "Of course, how could he give up on such a powerful spell? It's just that he thinks highly of himself, but in the end, he can't escape death. My people are not to be trifled with, although they paid a huge price, they still killed this scourge. It's just that I didn't expect that after tens of thousands of years, nightmare would appear again." Tang Zheng patted his forehead, feeling bitter in his heart. In the ancient times, the experts gathered together, and all kinds of spells blossomed, making it hard to imagine. With so many souls escaping from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, it would probably cause a lot of trouble. Since there is a first time, then I will be extremely careful. I will not fall into the nightmare demon's trap again. You all said that these souls would choose the strong. Then other than Yi Xuanji, there is only Yi Ke left in the Yi mansion. Could it be that the nightmare demon chose him? Tang Zheng muttered to himself, staring at Yi Ke like a torch. The Ye family looked at Tang Zheng. Just now, they saw that Tang Zheng was as motionless as a statue from afar. The two of them were shocked, but they did not sit back and watch. Instead, they directly chose to charge over, preparing to give him a fatal blow. However, just as they rushed in front of him, they discovered that Tang Zheng had freed himself from the meditative state of the old monk. As a result, the two of them immediately stopped in their tracks, and did not dare to act rashly. They looked at him suspiciously, not knowing what kind of medicine he was selling in his gourd. "Tang Zheng, do you really think that my Ye family has no one left? Today, even if I, Yi Xuanji, risk my life, I will not let you succeed," Yi Xuanji said while gnashing his teeth. Just now he was completely shocked by Tang Zheng's strength. When Tang Zheng left, he was both scared and ashamed. He was the dignified patriarch of a generation. If he was scared like this, then he would not be able to show his face in the Yi clan in the future. He would be pointed at behind his back and scolded to death. As the head of the family, of course he could not ignore it. Therefore, even though he knew that he was no match for it, he still had to chase after it. Only this time, there was Yi Ke. Chapter 1039. Tang Zheng did not pay attention to Yi Xuanji's clamor. He just stared at Yi Ke intently, as if he wanted to see through her. Does he have a great aura? No. What about the great aura? It appeared again, in the small courtyard behind. Tang Zheng suddenly turned his head to look. Doesn't this mean that the nightmare did not choose Yi Ke, but chose another person? He stared at the wall behind him, as if he wanted to let his eyes penetrate it to see who could get the favor of the nightmare. "Tang Zheng, what are you looking around for?" Yi Xuanji scolded. Tang Zheng coldly snorted. His toes touched the ground, and he was about to fly into the small courtyard. "Stop for me!" Yi Xuanji roared. His heels slammed on the ground, and the ground immediately cracked. He was like a cannonball, flying out. The sword in his hand shone brightly, and he and the sword seemed to be integrated into one. Seeing this scene, Tang Zheng understood that the other party was going all out, and quickly raised the War Soul sword. The War Soul sword whistled, and one sword flew into the sky. Ding Dang shouted, and the two swords clashed. One sword and one person fell from the sky, drawing a bloody trace in the sky, and heavily fell to the ground, blood spurting out. At this moment, Yi Xuanji seemed to have aged more than 10 years. Originally, there were a few black hairs, but now all of them have turned white. This blow, Tang Zheng broke all of his defenses, even his mind, and the damage he suffered was immeasurable. Tang Zheng did not hide anything. It was the other party's repeated threats that made him really angry. Moreover, the Ye family actually had such a powerful existence as the nightmare. Tang Zheng had to be careful. "Grandpa, Yiku was originally preparing to attack Tang Zheng, but when she saw this scene, she subconsciously stopped and helped Yi Xuanji up. Tang Zheng, I will fight with you. Yiku shouted, her face was crazy. Yi Xuanji grabbed his sleeves tightly and shook his head. Don't, you are not his match. Tang Zheng coldly looked at the two of them and said, I originally didn't want to be your enemy, but since someone in your mansion has been possessed, I have no choice but to interfere. Moreover, this is for your own good because the people you are familiar with are already in danger. Possession? Yi Xuanji took a deep breath and suppressed the blood in his heart as he asked. That's right. An extremely powerful soul has attacked one of your people. If you don't treat him in time, he'll be in grave danger. Hey, nonsense, you want to use this reason to deceive us. Do you really think that we are 3-year-old children? Yiku disapproved and sarcastically said. Tang Zheng ignored him and said, Yi Xuanji, it's up to you whether you believe me or not. I'm telling the truth. Yi Xuanji had a complicated expression on his face. After pondering for a while, he said, What evidence do you have? The evidence is at the back of the yard. We'll know once we go in and take a look. Tang Zheng pointed to the back. Behind this courtyard? Who are you trying to fool? No one lives in this courtyard for a long time. How can there be people? Hey, Tang Zheng, don't you know how to make up a better lie when you're lying? Yiku snorted. No one, how can it be? Tang Zheng didn't believe it. It was clear that the great desolate aura was coming from inside. His heart moved and he asked, could it be that an outsider broke in and deliberately hid inside? Haha, ridiculous. Where do you think my Ye family is? What kind of cats and dogs can come and go as they please? Yiku pointed at the mulberry tree and scolded the locust tree. Tang Zheng frowned. Yiku, keep your mouth clean, otherwise you will suffer. Yiku still wanted to argue, but was stopped by Yi Xuanji. He looked deeply at the courtyard, not knowing what he was thinking. Bad, the great desolate aura is moving, the other party wants to escape. The inner demons suddenly shouted. Don't let him escape. Chiyu urged. Quickly chase. Tang Zheng also ignored the Ye family, jumped and rushed into the courtyard. Yiku shouted stop, and tried to chase, but she was held back by Yi Xuanji. She could only watch as Tang Zheng disappeared in the courtyard. Grandpa, why are you pulling me? This is the Ye family. How can we let him do whatever he wants? Yiku said indignantly. Yi Xuanji's face sank and said, young people are full of vigor. What do you know? If you chase after him, what if something bad happens to you? What will happen to our Ye family? I can die, but you absolutely can't die. You are the hope of the Ye family, do you understand? Yiku lowered her head in shame and said, Grandpa, I know I was wrong. How much credibility do you think Tang Zheng's words have? Humph, he is completely lying. Yiku's face was cold and said without thinking. Yi Xuanji was silent. Yiku was shocked and asked, Grandpa, you don't really believe his nonsense, do you? Do you think it is necessary for him to talk nonsense to both of us? We can't threaten him at all. He is so active, what can he do or what benefits can he get? Yi Xuanji pointed out. Yiku was speechless. Yi Xuanji patted Yiku's shoulder and said earnestly, think more when you encounter things. I found that since the war, you have become more and more impatient. Although you have Tang Zheng, this mountain in front of you, but even in the face of the mountain, we have to have the spirit of a foolish old man moving the mountain. Conserve energy, accumulate strength little by little, and one day, we can dig up this mountain. Yiku lowered her head and said, Yes, Grandpa, I understand. He turned his eyes and asked, Since you think that what Tang Zheng said is true, then what is the matter with the soul he said? Of course we have to figure it out. Let's go in. Yi Xuanji stood up with difficulty as the injury he received just now was not enough to take his life. The two hurriedly rushed into the courtyard, only to find that Tang Zheng's figure had jumped up from another wall and completely disappeared. He didn't find what he wanted? Yi Xuanji said, Let's catch up. However, the two chased for a while and completely couldn't see Tang Zheng's whereabouts. They could only look at the endless flow of traffic and sigh. Yiku stomped her foot and said, Damn, I let him run away. Yi Xuanji shook his head slightly and said, About what Tang Zheng said later. You are not allowed to spread it, understand? Yes. Yiku didn't know why, but she quickly responded. In addition, pay more attention to Tang Jing's movements during this time. He is jumping too happily, and this has become the target of public criticism. We don't have to deal with him. Someone else will clean him up. We just need to watch the show, and then save our strength. Yiku nodded. The leader is determined to support our Ye family. If we are unable to support the leader will change his target in minutes, and our Ye family will completely lose the opportunity to rise. Therefore, during this time, you must be 120% alert. There must be no mistakes. Yi Xuanji sternly warned. Yiku understood the importance of the matter and nodded heavily. When Tang Zheng chased into the courtyard, the primitive aura had already escaped. He followed the aura and quickly chased out. As for the Ye family behind him, he didn't take them to heart, because he could quickly get rid of them. Sure enough, he quickly got rid of the two people, but the speed of the primitive aura was so fast that it was jaw-dropping. Even he couldn't catch up. Tang Zheng, the nightmare, was a strong man who had reached the Desheng realm. Although it is only his soul, I am afraid that after the possession, his cultivation base is definitely not low. It is even possible that it is higher than yours, so you may not be able to catch up with him. The inner demons said worriedly. Qiyu retorted. We have to catch up. This is our last chance. Our perception range of the primitive aura is only 5 kilometers. Once it exceeds this range, we can't do anything. Since we have already alerted the enemy, if we let the other party escape, the other party will definitely hide completely, and it will be difficult to find them again. The perception range is only 5 kilometers, then why didn't you say it before? Tang Zheng was surprised. This you didn't ask. Qiyu and the inner demons said bitterly. Tang Zheng thought about it, and immediately understood what the two were thinking. He asked, you deliberately raised your value before, so you didn't say this, right? In order to survive and prove their great value, the two of them naturally wouldn't reveal their shortcomings. As for the desolate aura in the Yi residence, they had long discovered it, which was why they were so confident. As for the other desolate auras, they couldn't sense them at all. They didn't even have the slightest clue. I was actually tricked by the two of you. Tang Zheng's expression was unkind. How did we trick you? We can really sense the primitive aura, but there is a distance limit. Humph, deliberately exaggerating. Isn't that a trick? You're wrong, we didn't lie to you at all. The two hurriedly defended themselves. It had to be said that what the two said was not unreasonable. Tang Zheng didn't ask, and they didn't say in detail, so it wasn't a trick. It was Tang Zheng's fault for subconsciously making a mistake. Wait until I catch this nightmare, then I'll deal with you guys. Tang Zheng was indignant and raised his speed to the limit. He madly ran all the way, circling through the streets of Beijing. After chasing for half a day, he still couldn't even see the shadow of the other party. Only the primitive aura was guiding him. This made Tang Zheng depressed and secretly competitive. If I can't catch up, then I'll catch up. Let's see who can last longer. Ring, ring, ring. Suddenly, the phone in his pocket rang. At this critical moment, who is calling? Young Master Tang, quickly come and save me. Ji Wuxiang's voice came from the phone, sounding very anxious. What's the matter? Someone wants to kill me. Who wants to kill you? Beep beep. The phone was cut off, and when he called back, he was told that the phone was turned off. Don't worry about that, Ji Wuxiang. Catching the nightmare is the most important thing. Qiyu urged. The inner demons hurriedly retorted. Although the nightmare is important, Ji Wuxiang is also important. If his celestial chess falls into the hands of others, I'm afraid it will be very disadvantageous for you. Ji Wuxiang is a genius. Such a person cannot fall into the hands of others. Chapter 1040. What's so hard to choose? Stop hesitating and continue chasing the Nightmare Lord. Otherwise, it will be too late for regrets. Qiyu kept urging. The inner demons retorted. Qiyu, don't be an alarmist. He has a grudge with you. That's why you want to kill him. The Nightmare Lord is indeed powerful, but to say that he's so powerful that it's against the heavens is definitely an exaggeration. Why would the Nightmare Lord run away and not face Tang Jing head-on? because he knows that Tang Zheng has a way to break his traceless dream spell. His most powerful spell would not work, so he would naturally run away. Is that so? Tang Zheng's heart moved as he asked. Of course it is so. The inner demons said as a matter of fact. Qiyu did not refute, clearly agreeing with this point. If I meet the Nightmare Lord again, can I not be affected by his traceless dream spell? Tang Zheng asked curiously. The inner demons confidently said, of course not for normal people, but you can rest assured that with us here, even if he can lure you into the dream realm, he won't be able to lure us. So as long as the two of us are here, the Nightmare Lord's spell will not work. So that's how it is. Tang Zheng suddenly understood, immediately understanding the importance of the situation. Inner demons, if you don't speak, no one will think you're a mute, Qiyu said in a flustered and exasperated manner. The inner demons chuckled. Qiyu, you're so flustered and exasperated because I'm right. What I said is the truth. As for how to choose, that's up to the young man. You don't really think that you can make the young man's decision right? Don't be so arrogant. Arrogance makes people fall behind. Tang Zheng did not pay attention to the two of them arguing. In his heart, he gradually came up with a plan. Since he had chased the Nightmare Lord for so long and still could not catch him, that meant that the Nightmare Lord's methods were very good. Even if he continued to chase, he might not be able to catch him. However, if Ji Wuxiang fell into the enemy's hands, he would not be able to keep the chess piece and would be a huge threat to himself. I understand. In an instant, he made his decision. What are you going to do? I'll go save Ji Wuxiang first. Qiyu really wanted to look up at the sky and sigh. He hatefully said to the inner demons, Inner demons, it's you who ruined my plans. I'll remember you. Just you wait. The inner demons didn't care. Qiyu, whether it was when you were alive or now, you can't do anything to me. So your threat is too weak to be effective. Inner demons, you really are my nemesis. Qiyu shouted angrily. Tang Zheng changed direction and headed straight for the Xiangqi Club. Although Ji Wuxiang did not say where he was, he had a feeling that Ji Wuxiang was most likely in the Go Club. When he arrived at the Go Club, the door was tightly shut. He immediately frowned. He had guessed correctly. As for what had happened in the Go Club, no one knew. Even the passers-by at the door did not notice anything strange. However, Tang Zheng sensed it. He quickly went to the corner, and while no one was paying attention, lightly tiptoed into the Go Club. Separated by a wall, the outside was noisy, but the inside was silent. Not even the chirping of insects or birds could be heard. It was terrifyingly silent. As far as the eye could see, he understood what was going on, because everything in front of him was completely different from before. It was a mess. The pavilions had collapsed and turned into ruins. The mood of the small bridge and flowing water was completely destroyed. Tang Zheng's pupils constricted as he hurriedly rushed out. After a few steps, he saw the only place that was completely undamaged. The hall, which was also the place where many chess players used to play. The Go boards were still standing. The Go players sat in front of the boards, holding the pieces in their hands. Their faces were cold and hard like rocks in the cold wind. Their hands were frozen in midair, and did not fall for a long time. There were two people standing in the hall. One of them was Ji Wuxiang, and the other was wearing a mask. Tang Zheng recognized him at a glance. He exclaimed, My lord! The masked man was the great lord. Tang Zheng had fought him several times, so he was very familiar with the mask. Hearing the voice, the great lord and Ji Wuxiang turned their heads at the same time. When they saw Tang Zheng, the great lord exclaimed, Tang Zheng, it's you again. Why are you everywhere? His voice was filled with endless anger. When Ji Wuxiang saw Tang Zheng, his expression relaxed. His tense expression also relaxed a little. My lord, I've been looking for you for a long time. You're finally willing to show yourself. Tang Zheng said without backing down. Humph, I was looking for you. What did you do to my Azure Dragon Hall's consecrated Xianyin? The great lord asked coldly. Tang Zheng smiled faintly. Do you want to see her? I can help you and let you meet. Could it be that you killed her? That's impossible. How could you kill her? You imprisoned her, didn't you? Tang Zheng's head moved. The great lord seemed to have known that Xianyin could seal herself to protect her life. That's why he ran away so unscrupulously. If you don't answer, I'll take it as a yes. Today you don't have any other helpers. You're not my opponent. I'll take care of you once and for all. The Great Lord said murderously. Ji Wuxiang shouted. Who said that young Master Tang doesn't have any helpers? Although I, Ji Wuxiang, am not that talented, I can still help young Master Tang. Ji Wuxiang, even now you're still stubborn. Do you really think I won't kill you? The Great Lord scolded. In order to get the heavenly chess, are you willing to kill me? Ji Wuxiang asked jokingly. He clearly knew what his biggest reliance was. The heavenly chess was his own creation. If others wanted to get the heavenly chess, they would have to dig it out bit by bit from his head. They wouldn't kill him immediately. Your heavenly chess is only SSO. It can't even trap me, let alone deal with others. I think it's better not to use it. The Great Lord said disdainfully. Ji Wuxiang was unmoved. Although the Great Lord was belittling the heavenly chess, he wasn't prepared to refute. On the other hand, when Tang Zheng heard this, his heart skipped a beat, and he immediately understood what was going on. Ji Wuxiang and the others were able to hold on until now, because they had set up the heavenly chess to resist the Great Lord. However, according to what Ji Wuxiang said, wasn't the heavenly chess very powerful? Why couldn't it trap the Great Lord? Instead, they were forced to retreat again and again. The Great Lord stared at Tang Zheng with burning eyes, saying, Tang Zheng, if you hand over consecrated Xianin, then I can let you die a quick death. Tang Zheng snorted and lightly spat out 2 words, dream on. Then I'll let you know the taste of death. The Great Lord stretched out his hand and rushed towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng hurriedly stabbed out with his sword. In an instant, the aura of heaven and earth changed greatly. No matter how the sword qi danced, countless sword marks appeared on the ground. As for Ji Wuxiang and the other Go players, they were like small boats in a storm, bobbing up and down with the waves. It was very dangerous. Suddenly Ji Wuxiang shouted, Fecta. At the same time, the Go players began to move. The Go pieces in their hands landed heavily. Bang! The sound of the Go pieces making contact with the chessboard was exceptionally crisp. Before the sound had faded away, a mysterious energy surged out from the chessboard, spreading throughout the entire Go club. The aura of this small world had undergone a tremendous change. If one looked from the outside, they would see that the Go club hadn't changed at all. There wasn't even the slightest change. However, the inside of the Go club had undergone a myriad of changes. Tang Zheng's senses were very sharp. He immediately noticed this. After fending off the Great Lord with his sword, he couldn't help but look at Ji Wuxiang and the other Go players. He saw that Ji Wuxiang's expression was solemn, and even had a murderous aura. He was like a general in ancient times who commanded thousands of troops and horses. The Go players were like his subordinates. The Go players also changed. Although they were still as solemn as statues, their expressions were obviously more relaxed. It was obvious that they had been under a lot of pressure at the beginning. They held the Go pieces in their hands and were floating in the air. It seemed like they would place their Go pieces at any time. Tang Zheng's head moved. He gradually understood. Ji Wuxiang's fecta earlier was probably the order to place the Go pieces, or even the position of the Go pieces. However, he didn't know what it meant exactly. After the Go pieces were placed, the aura of heaven and earth changed. This was enough to show how extraordinary celestial chess was. It could actually cause the aura of heaven and earth to change. It was truly extraordinary for a Go game to have such power. Tang Zheng didn't underestimate celestial chess like the Great Lord. Instead, because of this change, he treated celestial chess differently and had a higher opinion of it. The Great Lord had seen this change in the previous battle, so he was already used to it. The aura of heaven and earth changed more and more violently. Suddenly, Tang Zheng felt a chill. He felt something and looked at the Great Lord. The Great Lord's expression changed. He shouted, "You're doing it again!" Bam! With a muffled sound, it was as if a tyrannical force had struck the High Lord's body. He quickly retreated, leaving a long mark on the ground. The floor was like the earth that had been plowed, turning up one after another. What a tyrannical force! I can't guard against it. Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. This change was beyond his expectations. He asked himself honestly, If he was in the Great Lord's position, he definitely wouldn't be able to block this attack. Most importantly, this attack was invisible. There was no trace of it at all. By the time he noticed it, it was already too late to guard against it. Is this the power of celestial chess? Tang Zheng muttered to himself. Celestial chess's attack was invisible, but its power was so great. It was indeed too terrifying. It made one's hair stand on end. The Great Lord wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. His eyes shone with a terrifying light from behind the mask. He shouted himself hoarse, "I'm going to break your celestial chess today." As soon as he finished speaking, he rushed out. This time he wasn't targeting Tang Zheng. Instead, he directly attacked Ji Wuxiang. Obviously, in his heart, celestial chess was a bigger threat than Tang Zheng. Celestial Jade. Ji Wuxiang opened his mouth again. This time, he didn't seem to be as relaxed as before. These two words burst out from his throat with great difficulty. Those chess players moved again. This time, their movements were very slow. It was as if they were resisting an invisible force. Tang Zheng saw everything clearly. He couldn't help but be amazed. This was a huge difference from before. As an outsider, he didn't know the reason behind it. Bam. Chapter 1041. The chess piece landed, and a sudden change occurred. A tyrannical force once again struck the High Lord's body, and blood seeped out from under his clothes, forming a dark red patch. You. The High Lord gasped for breath. His breathing became extremely hurried and chaotic, and he was actually unable to say a complete sentence. He propped himself up with his palm on the ground, turned into a ray of light, and fiercely rushed towards Ji Wuxiang. Stop! Tang Zheng shouted loudly. The sun-shooting arrow and heaven-shocking bow in his hands, the bowstring trembled, and the sun-shooting arrow flew out like a meteor, arriving in front of Ji Wuxiang in the blink of an eye. Ji Wuxiang's face changed. How did your sun-shooting arrow become so powerful? Tang Zheng sneered. With a thought, the speed of the sun-shooting arrow increased. The High Lord flipped in the air, the sun-shooting arrow brushing past his scalp. However, before he could rejoice, he saw the sun-shooting arrow turn back in midair. His expression changed greatly as he looked at the sun-shooting arrow and Tang Zheng in disbelief. This was even more powerful than he had expected. Seeing the sun-shooting arrow flying over again, and Ji Wuxiang opening his mouth, as if he was about to speak again, his expression turned cold. He looked at Tang Zheng hatefully, then looked at Ji Wuxiang unwillingly, turned around and left. Like a whirlwind, he soared into the sky and flew over the courtyard wall. Delta boom. The sun-shooting arrow missed and shot into the corner of the wall. After a loud sound, a huge hole appeared at the foot of the wall, and gravel flew everywhere. Tang Zheng stomped his foot in hatred, and said indignantly, "The High Lord is too shameless." Once he noticed that something was wrong, he actually ran away. Is he addicted to being a deserter? Last time he ran away, this time he ran away again. Tang Zheng was very clear that the High Lord was not completely afraid of the power of the sun-shooting arrow. Although the sun-shooting arrow was a sacred weapon, with Tang Zheng's strength, it was not enough to truly threaten the High Lord. What he was afraid of was clearly Ji Wuxiang and Tang Zheng working together. With the sky chess and Tang Zheng attacking together, the power would naturally increase greatly, and even the High Lord would not dare to underestimate them. The other chess players were drenched in sweat, as if they had just been fished out of the water. Their stiff faces finally revealed a trace of relaxation. It was obvious that the battle just now was a huge test for them. Young Master Tang, thank you for your timely arrival. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to see tomorrow's sunrise. Ji Wuxiang heaved a long sigh and expressed his gratitude. Tang Zheng shook his head slightly. President Ji is too serious. Your sky chess is very powerful. Even if I did not come, it might not have been defeated. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly. Young Master Tang, you only saw the surface, but not the inside. Although it looked like we could still hold on, without your help, we definitely would not have been able to hold on for long. Tang Zheng frowned and asked, Why, didn't you say that the sky chess is very powerful? The High Lord wanted to use the sky chess to deal with Tang Zheng and the others, including Empyrean Fairy and Tian Chanzi. It was clear that the sky chess was very powerful. How could it not be defeated by the High Lord? This did not make sense. Ji Wuxiang said resentfully. You only know one part of the story, but you don't know the whole story. It's true that the heavenly chess is powerful, but we didn't unleash the true power of the heavenly chess just now. What we unleashed was only the tip of the iceberg. To unleash the true power of the heavenly chess, we need very complicated and strict conditions. Oh, I'd like to hear more. What did President Ji mean by fecta and merak just now? Tang Zheng asked curiously, staring at Ji Wuxiang with a burning gaze. Ji Wuxiang did not hesitate and said openly, this is the sky chess's moves. Fecta and merak represent each move. There are 7 moves in the sky chess, namely Dubhe, merak, fecta, migrez, alioth, mizar and alcade. Every move had all kinds of internal connections and changes. Only those who practiced the game every day could master its mysteries and exert the corresponding power. I am the core of the sky chess. All the chess players listen to my orders to place their pieces and move so that they can use its great power. The power of the sky chess can be big or small. It can be limited to a courtyard, or it can be expanded to a city. Tang Zheng nodded, suddenly enlightened. No wonder I didn't notice anything strange outside the Go Club just now. So many passers-by did not notice anything. However, once you enter the Go Club, it's a completely different scene, a completely different world. President Ji is truly a genius. Although I only saw the tip of the iceberg of the sky chess today, it has already left a deep impression on me. I believe the High Lord feels the same way. Young Master Tang, you flatter me. The sky chess is indeed powerful, but it's only a half-finished product now. The High Lord will definitely have designs on the sky chess. Although I stopped him once, I might not be able to stop him a second time. Don't be afraid of thieves stealing, but be afraid of thieves remembering. Ji Wuxiang said helplessly. Then why don't you seize the time to set up the sky chess? When the time comes, even if the High Lord comes to attack, he might not be able to get anything out of it. Tang Zheng disagreed. Ji Wuxiang fell silent, his expression fluctuating as he hesitated to speak. Tang Zheng looked at him with furrowed brows, saying, President Ji, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. Ji Wuxiang stared at Tang Zheng without blinking for a long time before saying, Since young Master Tang is so straightforward, then I won't be shy anymore. I hope young Master Tang can lend me a hand and let the sky chess be truly completed. When the time comes, no matter how powerful the High Lord is, he won't be able to threaten us anymore. Tang Zheng did not expect Ji Wuxiang to raise such a suggestion. For a moment he did not know how to answer. He had always been wary of Ji Wuxiang, and Ji Wuxiang's words clearly did not treat him as an outsider. If he helped Ji Wuxiang, then he would definitely have more opportunities to understand the sky chess. In fact, Tang Zheng was also quite interested in the sky chess. Ji Wuxiang made it sound so powerful, but Tang Zheng did not understand the principles behind it. If he had a grudge with Ji Wuxiang in the future, then wouldn't Ji Wuxiang also use the sky chess to deal with him? If he knew some of the key points and mysteries of the sky chess, then perhaps he could counter Ji Wuxiang. The most important thing was that he had Qi Yu and the inner demons in his body. These two were undoubtedly knowledgeable and insightful. Even if he could not find any clues, these two would definitely learn a lot and tell him. At that time, it would be equivalent to him knowing. The inner demons urged. Young man, agree to his request. This sky chess is very interesting. I would like to see what exactly is going on. Qi Yu coldly humphed and said with dissatisfaction. Just deliberately mystifying. The inner demons retorted. Qi Yu, don't go against your conscience just because you came to save him today. This sky chess is something neither you nor I have ever seen before. Don't you want to pry into its mysteries? Qi Yu was silent. The inner demons had spoken his mind. Haha, young man, you see, he has nothing to say. This means that he has no way to refute me. My opinion is to agree to his request, and then figure out the mysteries of the sky chess. Perhaps you will be able to use the sky chess in the future. Wouldn't that be a good thing? There is no harm in learning more. This saying has been passed down since ancient times. Naturally, there is a reason for it. So be it. I would like to see what is so great about this sky chess. I don't want to see if it is just a trick to fool people in the end. Qi Yu said indignantly. Tang Zheng was silent for a long time. He had already made his decision. Since these two were in favor of this, then agreeing would definitely be more useful than refusing. Ji Wuxiang stared straight at Tang Zheng, waiting for his answer. Okay, I agree. But I don't know how to play the sky chess, so I may not be able to help you much, Tang Zheng said without batting an eyelid. Ji Wuxiang was immediately overjoyed. His eyes lit up as he impatiently said, Young Master Tang is too modest. With your help, this sky chess will definitely be completed sooner. At that time, you will be able to see the true face of the sky chess. Haha, then I will wait and see. What do you want to do next? Tang Zheng smiled faintly. Ji Wuxiang turned his head and looked around. He pointed at the messy courtyard and said, I will first tidy up this place. Although the Go Club has been destroyed, the most important foundation is still here. So in a few days, we will be able to start setting up the sky chess. During this time, do you need my help? No need. How could I trouble young Master Tang with such a small matter? Tang Zheng nodded and glanced at the other Go players. They had once again turned into puppets, sitting quietly in front of the Go board, and playing without any distractions. At this time, Tang Zheng no longer dared to underestimate these seemingly weak Go players. When they worked together, the power that burst forth was intimidating. Then I will take my leave first. If there is anything else, we will contact each other again. Tang Zheng cupped his hands and took his leave. Ji Wuxiang walked him to the door. When he opened the door of the Go Club, the clamor outside immediately traveled in. Just now, the inside of the Go Club was incomparably quiet, as if it was another world. Now that the door was opened, the two worlds seemed to merge into one. It was truly incomparably wonderful. Tang Zheng could not help but look forward to the coming cooperation even more. After leaving the Go Club, Tang Zheng asked Qiyu and the inner demons if the great desolate aura was still there. Qiyu said snappily, Do you think the other party is an idiot? Since he has gotten rid of you, he will definitely think of a way to hide. Why would he still show his face? Tang Zheng had also expected this result, but he could not guess who in the Ye family had been possessed. How could that be possible? There were so many people in the Ye family, that would be too difficult. Moreover, if he went to the Ye family again, it would be useless. He had already caused a ruckus in the Ye family. If he went again, it might cause some sort of disturbance, and instead, it would cause Yi Tianlei's family to be in a dilemma. There are so many things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and we have only found a few of them. Could it be that you really have no other choice but to sit at home and wait? Tang Zheng asked unhappily. Qiyu and the inner demons naturally sensed his displeasure and hurriedly comforted him. That might not be the case. If you go to the famous mountains or walk around the various cities, maybe we can find more of the great desolate aura. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes speechlessly. This is like looking for a needle in a haystack, do you know that? Where do I have that much time? Qiyu's heart skipped a beat, and he suggested, Didn't you already take the Li Palace under your command? Li Palace's eyes and ears are all over the world, and they are well informed. Let them gather abnormal information from all over the world, such as who suddenly became powerful, or what strange event that science cannot explain. This is a sign, and if we follow the map and identify the targets one by one, we will naturally be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Chapter 1042. Tang Zheng hurriedly dialed Li Xiaotian's number. With a beep, she picked up the phone and a pleasantly surprised voice came through. Tang Zheng, it's you. How have you been? I'm very good. The Li Palace is already on the right track. Everything is proceeding in an orderly manner. The intelligence system has already been restored 80 to 90%. When Granny Li left with her people, the intelligence system was damaged to a certain extent. However, Li Xiaotian's ability was outstanding. It didn't take long for it to be restored. Moreover, she established a strict intelligence network that was more precise and accurate than before. It had to be said that her ability was truly outstanding. I have something for you to do. Tang Zheng went straight to the point. Li Xiaotian was very happy. This showed her value, so she asked, What is it? Give the order to collect all kinds of mysterious and strange events throughout the country. Tang Zheng finished explaining in detail. With Li Xiaotian's intelligence, she immediately understood and said, "Don't worry, I will give the order and report it back to you as soon as possible. Don't be too anxious. This is not something that can be done in a short period of time." Tang Zheng comforted her. After hesitating for a moment, he said, "You are alone in the Li Palace. Take care of yourself. Don't tire yourself out." This sentence was more effective than any elixir. Li Xiaotian was very happy. She kept shaking her head and said, "I'm not tired. I'm willing to do anything for you." Cough cough. Tang Zheng dryly coughed and said a few perfunctory words before quickly hanging up the phone. He could guess a bit of Li Xiaotian's thoughts, but he didn't want to think too much about it. Tang Zheng returned to his house and saw two familiar figures in the courtyard. He hurriedly went up and greeted them cordially. "Uncle Yi, Aunt Feng, why are you here?" Yi Tianlei's face was dignified. He looked deeply at Tang Zheng and didn't say a word. Feng Xinyang's expression was normal. She looked at Tang Zheng with a smile and said, "Little handsome brother, where did you go this time?" "I went out of town yesterday and just came back. It's been hard on you running around everywhere. I heard you went back to school?" "Yes, this is Grandpa's wish. You really are a filial and good child." Feng Xinyang looked at him with a smile. The look in her eyes was more doting than when she looked at her own son. Tang Zheng had long been accustomed to Feng Xinyang's style of doing things. He understood that they wouldn't visit him without a reason, so he went straight to the point and asked, "Is there something wrong?" Feng Xinyang laughed heartily and patted Yi Tianlei's shoulder, saying, "Isn't it your Uncle Yi who insisted on dragging me here? In fact, that matter has nothing to do with him. He's just a dog catching a mouse and meddling in other people's business. People don't even appreciate his kindness." Tang Zheng looked suspiciously at Yi Tianlei and said, "Uncle Yi, if there's something then just say it. You're being too polite with me. That's treating me like an outsider." Yi Tianlei let out a long sigh and said, "All right then, I'll just say it. Today I heard news that you went to the Yi residence to cause a ruckus. Is that true?" Tang Zheng nodded. "Yes. Can I ask the reason?" Yi Tianlei's brows were tangled. Tang Zheng looked at him thoughtfully and instantly understood the purpose of his trip. Yi Tianlei was actually a truly good person. Even though he had broken off relations with the Yi residents, he still missed the Yi residents deep in his heart. He couldn't be as resolute as Feng Xinyang and Yi Dingdang. Therefore, he had always been silently paying attention to the Yi residents' movements. Today, Tang Zheng caused such a big ruckus that it naturally couldn't escape his eyes. That's why he came to ask Tang Zheng. This wasn't a punitive expedition, but to clarify the reason and see if he could mediate. Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Since Uncle Yi asked, then I will naturally tell you everything I know and will not hold back. Back then, there was a prehistoric heavenly tomb in the 10,000 huge mountains. Because the restrictions were broken, many creatures and magic treasures escaped. In the past, I never paid attention to it, but now I find out that these things that escaped are quite dangerous, and are good at seizing bodies and rebirth. In other words, they occupy other people's bodies, and with a shake of their bodies, they become living people again. These guys all came from the ancient era and are very powerful. Once they are allowed to truly recover and grow stronger, they will be a huge threat to this world." Yi Tianlei and Feng Xinyang were both shocked. They never thought that there would be so many hidden matters and immediately asked, "Then what does this have to do with the Yi residents?" "These things that escaped will emit a desolate aura. I finally found the whereabouts of this desolate aura in the Yi residence, so I barged into the Yi residence to investigate," Tang Zheng explained. Yi Tianlei suddenly realized and said thoughtfully, "You mean that someone in the Yi residence has been possessed?" "Yes." "Who is it?" Tang Zheng shook his head regretfully. "The other party is very cunning, and because of Yi Xuanji and Yi Ke's obstruction, I was unable to find out who is possessed, and the other party has already escaped without a trace, so it will be even more difficult to track them down." Feng Xinyang frowned. "Then this guy is really cunning, to be able to escape your pursuit. Are you eager to know the result?" "Of course. Could it be that Aunt Feng has a way?" Feng Xinyang pointed at Yi Tianlei and said, "Although he doesn't have much ability, investigating a person in the Yi residence shouldn't be a big problem." According to what you said, after this person has been possessed, his behavior will be very abnormal. Even if the other party hides well, there will still be clues, especially with the people who normally interact with each other. Don't you think so? Tang Zheng's head lit up, and he looked at Feng Xinyang in pleasant surprise and said, Aunt Feng is wise. Feng Xinyang laughed loudly. What wise idea do I have? It's just a small matter. Saying this, her arm touched Yi Tianlei, and said, Don't you think so? This small matter must be done immediately when we go back, and we must find out who was possessed in the shortest time possible. Yi Tianlei nodded his head, and after a long time he said, Little Zheng, you are our family's benefactor, so I will naturally take care of this small matter. But if it involves a specific person, what are you going to do? Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows and asked, Does Uncle Yi have any misgivings? Little Zheng, I am after all someone from the Ye family, so if it involves a specific person, I hope that you will be able to deal with it at your discretion. Yi Tianlei said hesitantly. Feng Xinyang heard this, and directly jumped up. Yi Tianlei, what's wrong with you? How did the Ye family treat us? Did you not see it? Now you are saying good things for them. Are you a pig so stupid? Feng Xinyang was greatly angered, and was flustered and exasperated. Seeing this, Tang Zheng hurriedly comforted her. Aunt Feng, don't be impatient. Uncle Yi is a righteous person, so of course I understand what he is thinking. Only, Uncle Yi, although I am of the younger generation, there are some things that I must say. Although your intentions are good, the other party may not accept your kindness. Yi Tianlei's face became embarrassed. Tang Zheng did not stop there, and instead continued to say, This matter is of great importance, so no matter who is involved, I will not back down. I must find this person. Also, this person has already been possessed, so the original person is already dead. This body is occupied by someone else, and is not someone from the Ye family. Little handsome brother, don't listen to his nonsense. He is soft-hearted and will never change. Feng Xinyang said without good feelings. Tang Zheng smiled and said, Uncle Yi is a kind person, so he has this kind of thinking. This is better than many vicious and merciless people. Feng Xinyang's lips slightly raised, and she smiled, her face brimming with happiness. Little handsome brother, do you know why I chose him that year? Why? Tang Zheng gossiped and asked. Feng Xinyang glanced at Yi Tianlei. It's because of his stupidity that he moves people's hearts more than other smart people. Tang Zheng laughed loudly. That's right, so Uncle Yi's starting point is good. Uncle Yi, I will leave this matter to you. Find out who has been acting strangely, then we will know who the enemy is. When the time comes, it will be easy to deal with. There is no need to implicate the entire Ye family. What do you say? Yi Tianlei looked pensive. What you say makes sense. The way of the world is becoming more and more complicated. I can't see through it at all. Uncle Yi is too modest. If Uncle Yi and Aunt Feng are in the mood for leisure, once this matter is over, I will invite you to an island for a vacation. The scenery there is beautiful, and there is no smog like the capital. It can be used to relax. Tang Zheng suggested. Feng Xinyang happily agreed. Little handsome brother, you are the one with the heart, unlike this guy. I have been with him for most of my life, but he doesn't know how to take me on a vacation. I have heard Ding Dang mention your island before. I have wanted to go for a long time. Good, then it's a deal. Little handsome brother, let's go over there. I have something to say to you. Feng Xinyang pulled Tang Zheng to the side. What can't you say in front of me? Yi Tianlei speechlessly rolled his eyes. Feng Xinyang glanced at him and said, This is a private conversation between me and little handsome brother. You don't need to know. Go to the side. After saying this, she pulled Tang Zheng to a secluded area. Tang Zheng curiously looked at her and asked, Aunt Feng, what is it that has to be so grand? Feng Xinyang looked at Tang Zheng. The more she looked, the more satisfied she was. When he was still a high school student, she had already set her mind on him. Now it seems that her vision was truly unique. If it wasn't for her constant perseverance and encouragement, perhaps that silly daughter of hers would have already had no fate with him. As for the unclear relationship between Tang Zheng and other women, she was very clear about it. However, what kind of person was she? How could she let her daughter withdraw because of such a small matter? On the contrary, she would encourage her daughter to compete even more. Only a truly outstanding man would be able to attract the attention of so many women. Feng Xinyang's daughter had never been afraid of challenges and competition. Bravely moving forward was the style she should have. However, ever since the last time she let Yi Dingdang return home and had a long talk with her, Feng Xinyang also realized that her daughter was facing a crisis. The most important thing was that the women by Tang Zheng's side were too outstanding. Not to mention Wu and Li Xiaotian. These two were originally experts of Li Palace and martial organization. She had to admit that they were stronger than Yi Dingdang. Chapter 1043. Seeing that Feng Xinyang was staring at him, Tang Zheng thought that something big was going on. He quickly restrained his expression and became serious. Little handsome brother, how are things going with you and Dingdang? Tang Zheng was greatly embarrassed. Why would she ask such a question? If it was someone else, he could refuse to answer. However, the other party was Feng Xinyang. He simply could not refuse. After thinking for a while, he said, "We're pretty good." Pretty good? Why did I hear that she has some conflicts with that princess and… Tang Zheng's eyes widened as he thought to himself, "You even know this?" Feng Xinyang gave him a look that said, "I've already seen through everything. Don't lie to me." She continued, "Dingdang is an impatient girl. She doesn't know how to beat around the bush. If she does anything wrong, you have to bear with her." Tang Zheng nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. "Aunt Feng, don't worry. Dingdang is very sensible." Feng Xinyang's mouth finally revealed a trace of a smile and said, "If that's the case, then I can rest assured. Some things should be settled as soon as possible. You young people are impatient. I still have to worry about these things for you." Tang Zheng was confused and looked at her blankly. Feng Xinyang coughed and said in an earth-shattering manner, "Since both of you are in love with each other, and we as your parents don't have any opinions, we really want to see both of you together. So let's find an auspicious day." "Aunt Feng, what do you mean?" The more Tang Zheng listened, the more he felt that something was wrong, especially when he heard the words auspicious day. He immediately thought of the beating of gongs and drums to welcome the bride, so he immediately interrupted her. Feng Xinyang smiled and said, "Isn't this for your own good? Find an auspicious date, and you two can get engaged. Then after you graduate, you can get married. Isn't this a wonderful thing?" Tang Zheng was dumbfounded. His mouth opened so wide that a duck egg could be stuffed in it. He looked at Feng Xinyang in disbelief. He never expected that she was here to urge him to get married. Feng Xinyang's actions had always been unpredictable, but Tang Zheng had never thought that she would actually come to urge him to get married. This was too fierce. For a moment he didn't know how to answer. Feng Xinyang urged, "Little handsome boy, I know you're shy, but you're an adult. What's there to be shy about? I'll take care of it for you. You don't have to worry at all." "Wait, Aunt Feng," Tang Zheng hurriedly shouted. "Aunt Feng, don't be hasty in this matter. Dingdang and I are still students. This will have a bad influence." Feng Xinyang didn't find it strange and said, "What does it matter? Nowadays there are even college students who have children. It's just an engagement." Tang Zheng coughed a few times and almost choked on his own saliva. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, "Aunt Feng, I know you're good to me, but I'm really not mentally prepared. Let's wait a little longer." Feng Xinyang's smile gradually disappeared. She stared at Tang Zheng and seriously said, "Little handsome boy, are you dissatisfied with Dingdang?" "Absolutely not." Tang Zheng shook his head like a rattledrum. "Since you're not dissatisfied, then all the more you have to be together. You have to be together in a legitimate manner," Feng Xinyang said. "Aunt Feng, this matter is really too urgent." Seeing Tang Zheng continue to evade, Feng Xinyang knew that if she continued to push things would become worse. She resentfully said, "Fine, but when you graduate, I'll look for you again. At that time, you can't use your age as an excuse. But I can accept it if you give me a little grandson in the next few years." Tang Zheng's legs went soft, and he almost fell to the ground. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at her. "Is Yi Dingdang your biological daughter?" How could you cheat your own daughter like this? However, when it came to giving birth, he became vigilant. He didn't use any safety measures and the women didn't fall for it. This was a great fortune. He couldn't be so willful in the future. Tang Zheng found an excuse to escape. He was afraid that she would say something shocking. Feng Xinyang looked at his receding figure and helplessly shook her head. She had to think of another way to deal with this matter slowly. Suddenly, he had an idea and looked at the villa beside him. That's right, how could I be so stupid? Taking care of the little handsome brother is not easy. But I can first take care of the old Gramps. When the time comes that the old Gramps will acknowledge Ding Dong's identity and position, then wouldn't everything be set in stone? Her eyes lit up. She pulled Yi Tianlei and rushed to the villa beside her. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh of relief. Feng Xinyang's vigor was beyond his imagination. Looking at his frightened face, Marshall walked over and asked, "What happened to you?" Tang Zheng squeezed out a smile and said, "It's nothing." Nana jumped from the second floor like a little swallow and directly flew into his arms. She said intimately, "Big brother, quickly take me to play. I have to go to school in a few days. At that time, I won't have time to play with Big brother." Nana was about to go to primary school and had already contacted the school. Therefore, this was her last time to play. Tang Zheng moved his head and said, "All right, let's go outside and play. Big brother is going to set up a formation. You can watch from the side, okay?" "What is a formation?" Nana tilted her head and asked curiously. Nana is still young. She will know when she grows up. "Oh," Nan replied, a little disappointed. Marshall asked curiously, "What kind of formation are you going to set up?" Tang Zheng pointed to the large area outside and said, "These buildings are all inhabited by our people. For safety reasons, I am going to set up a formation. In addition, the smog in the capital is so serious. I also plan to add a spirit gathering array to improve the air here." Marshall nodded happily. "That's a good idea. I'll take a look with you and broaden my horizons." Tang Zheng originally only planned to set up a spirit gathering array to improve the air, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was far from enough. This place had been attacked time and time again. If there was a defensive formation, once the formation was activated, it would be able to protect everyone, as if an external enemy had invaded. Although he did not know many formations, he could not beat the inner demons and Chiyu. These two people had countless formations in their minds, so any one of them would be enough. The few of them arrived outside the villa and walked around a few villas. Then he had an idea in his heart. "Chiyu, if the great heavenly cycle primordial array is not as powerful as you say, I will look for you to settle the score," Tang Zheng said. Chiyu seemed to have been greatly insulted as he indignantly said, "Tang Zheng, it's fine if you don't know anything, but you actually dare to look down on my great heavenly cycle primordial array. Do you know that my camp was set up with this array? No enemy can quietly break through the array." Tang Zheng smiled and did not refute, waiting to see how it would turn out. The inner demons did not refute this time. Instead, they helped Chiyu and said, "I'll say something fair. This great heavenly cycle primordial array is indeed a first-class formation." Chiyu did not exaggerate. Inner demons, you're finally willing to speak the truth for once," Chiyu said. The inner demons retorted, "When have I ever not spoken the truth?" Nana looked carefully. Tang Zheng took out a piece of jade and flicked it with his finger. Whoosh! The jade stone flew out and entered a bush, disappearing without a trace. "Big brother, is this how you set up a formation?" Tang Zheng smiled and nodded his head. "The formation is a very complicated system, and in order to have the corresponding function, one must have the support of energy. These jade stones contain a certain amount of energy, and when we set up these jade stones according to a certain position and location, once the formation is activated, it will be able to play the corresponding role. But setting up a formation is a very delicate job, especially the more complicated the formation is, the more it requires that there is not the slightest mistake. Otherwise, the formation will not succeed." Nana nodded her head as if she understood. She clenched her snow-white teeth as if she wanted to firmly remember these words in her heart. Marshall also thoughtfully remembered everything. She was a martial artist and could not set up a formation like Tang Zheng. Moreover, her interest in formations was far weaker than her interest in martial arts. She believed that the best defense was offense, and no matter how powerful a formation was, it was still a defensive line. Just looking at Tang Zheng's serious expression, the sunlight falling on his body, giving him a very enchanting feeling. "Big brother, can I try?" Suddenly, Nana asked restlessly. Tang Zheng muttered to himself for a moment, then placed a jade stone in her hand and said, "Nana, put the jade stone in that place." Looking at the direction Tang Zheng pointed at, Nana held her breath and silently circulated her energy. Imitating Tang Zheng, she flicked her finger. Whoosh! The jade stone turned into a ray of white light and flew into the target area. "Wow, I also succeeded. Big brother, do you think I did well?" Nana excitedly jumped up. Tang Zheng nodded his head in approval, patted her little head and praised. "Nana is very smart, you can do it as soon as I say it." He had to admit that Nana was already a world of difference compared to other children of the same age. Just that move just now, no matter if it was strength or angle, it could be considered beautiful. Suddenly, he had an idea and said, "Nana, when you go to school, you can't show these skills in front of other people, otherwise you will scare the other children." Nana seemed to understand but not understand. She looked up at Tang Zheng and said, "Why?" "Because you are stronger than them. We can't use these skills to bully the weak, do you understand?" Nana thought for a moment and said, "Is it like the heroes on TV, we have to help the weak, so we can't bully the weak?" Tang Zheng laughed. "Nana is very smart, you even learned the phrase, help the weak and help the strong. And, we are not afraid of danger or the strong, but we can't use the strong to bully the weak." Nana nodded her head. "Nana understands, I will definitely remember Big Brother's words." Tang Zheng unhurriedly completed the rest of the work. All of the jade stones were inserted into the corresponding locations. He stood in the middle of the array and activated his true chi. Circulating his power, his 10 fingers slightly bent, and coincidentally flicked open at the same time. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. 10 streams of true chi burst out from his fingers, and entered 10 different directions at the same time. Hua. Chapter 1044. Vice Principal Pang's face turned red as he roared. "You're Tang Zheng, right? Not only did you disregard the law, but you also dared to talk back to me. As the vice principal, I can tell you right now that Yenqing University doesn't need students like you." Tang Zheng sneered. "Is that so?" "Yes. Yenqing University doesn't need students like you who disregard the law and respect their elders. You can just wait to be expelled." Vice Principal Pang's voice was getting louder and louder. It was even a little shrill. It seemed that this was the only way to show off his authority. "I also hit someone. You can expel me too." Fang Shishir stepped forward and stood beside Tang Zheng. Her face was full of anger. Seeing her beloved being wronged, one could imagine the anger in her heart. "I also hit someone. Expel me if you have the guts. If you don't, you're a coward." Yi Dingdong's small face was red from anger. She wanted nothing more than to punch Vice Principal Pang in the face. Vice Principal Pang was dazzled by the two beauties who stepped forward. They were simply too beautiful. If it were any other time, he would definitely hold their hands and teach them with all his heart and soul. However, Yi Dingdong's clamor made him feel embarrassed. If he didn't expel them, he would be a coward. He didn't want to be called a coward on his first day as a new official. He was about to passionately reprimand them and make them realize their mistake. However, a person suddenly appeared from the crowd. His body was as tall as a mountain. He shouted angrily, "I also hit someone. You can expel me too." Tang Zheng turned his head to look, so it was the dorm's second brother, Do Long Sinosaurus, and the others were also welcoming the new students. When they heard the commotion, they ran over and happened to see this scene. Blood rushed to his head and he didn't hesitate to stand up for his brother. Vice Principal Pang looked at Sinosaurus in surprise. "You clearly squeezed in from the back. How could you be the one who hit someone?" Before he could figure out the situation, he saw two people squeezing in. Wang Shiji and Zhou Yin had a tacit understanding and said in unison, "I also hit someone, you should fire me too." Vice Principal Pang's face darkened. He finally understood that these people were in cahoots with Tang Zheng. They were here to kick up a fuss and embarrass him. Who was Vice Principal Pang? How could such a scene scare him? Therefore, he said in a deep voice, "All right, since you've admitted it, then wait for the school's punishment. Yenqing University doesn't need students like you." As soon as his voice fell, a few more people squeezed in, but they were all beautiful girls. Each of them was like a fearless warrior, standing behind Tang Zheng without hesitation, and said in a loud and resonant voice, "I also hit people, you should fire me too." Tang Zheng looked at them gratefully. They were Yi Dingdong's roommates. The few of them nodded encouragingly at Tang Zheng. His actions today had truly won their respect and recognition. Vice Principal Pang was at a loss. Just who was this brat? Why did so many people stand out for him? These people must be in cahoots. That's why they're so united. If it was anyone else, they would definitely admit defeat. But I've seen all kinds of storms. You guys are too inexperienced to play such tricks in front of me. Vice Principal Pang snorted in disdain. All right, since that's the case, then I'll fulfill your wishes. Vice Principal Pang roared majestically. He felt like an ancient emperor who ruled over the life and death of others. This feeling was extremely satisfying. The other students looked at each other with red eyes. Even the girls stood out for injustice. Could it be that they, as grown men, were not as brave as the girls? One by one, the students clenched their fists. Suddenly, a person took a few steps forward and stood behind Tang Zheng. He said fearlessly, "I also hit people, you should fire me too." Vice Principal Pang was stunned as he stared at this fearless fellow with a murderous gaze. He thought to himself, "I'll fulfill your wishes." But before he could say anything, he saw students one by one walk behind Tang Zheng, loudly shouting, "I also hit people, you should also expel me." The crowd was stirred up and their voices rose and fell one after another. This was the most sincere expression of a student's emotions, an instinctive support, but often many people would snort in disdain. But seeing over 100 people working together to support Tang Zheng, one would know who was right and who was wrong, and what the people's hearts were. When the new students reported in, there were many parents accompanying them. When they saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel excited. It was as if they had returned to the time when they were young and full of vigor. The edges and corners that had been worn away by life over the years seemed to have grown back. With a red face, they said to their children, "Do you see that? This is the spirit of the university." Many of the new students were boiling with passion as they threw down their suitcases and rushed behind Tang Zheng. They shouted, "I also hit people, you should fire me too." When the parents saw their children's actions, not only did they not blame them, they even revealed gratified expressions. Most of the people in Huaxia had such genes and blood hidden in their bones. They just needed an opportunity to trigger it. There was no doubt that this accidental incident had become a trigger, arousing their long-hidden hot blood. Vice Principal Pang stared at the scene in disbelief, as if he had been struck dumb. He never expected that the students would be so united. This kind of strength made his heart tremble as he felt a long-lost fear. However, he immediately suppressed this absurd thought. His face darkened and he thought to himself, fanning the flames, "These students can't be allowed to stay. The law doesn't punish the majority of the people. As long as I tell them the pros and cons, these people will naturally know to be afraid." But he couldn't see the people behind him due to the dense crowd, so his voice couldn't be heard. Suddenly, he had an idea as he saw the Mercedes-Benz. He quickly climbed on top of the car and looked down at the crowd. He waved his hand and shouted, "Quiet! Everyone quiet! Listen to me. I know that most of you are good students, so don't be bewitched by a bad student. This is irresponsible to you and your parents. Everyone disperse. We weren't bewitched by others. We have our own judgment and sense of right and wrong. We're doing this to be responsible to ourselves and our parents." Someone refuted. "That's right. I'm the master of my life. It's not up to you to tell me what to do. Get lost. Our Yenqing University doesn't need a leader like you." "That's right. This kind of leader is the shame of Yenqing University. He's helping outsiders to suppress his own students. How shameless." Vice Principal Pang panicked when he heard the complaints. Things seemed to be out of his control and prediction. What right do you have to be so high and mighty? What right do you have to tell us what to do? You're nothing. You don't have the right. The students were even angrier when they saw him looking down on them. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice sounded. Rise up, people who don't want to be slaves. The voice completely ignited everyone's emotions. It was as if they had returned to the Huaxia era, when they were bullied. Everyone's eyes were red, and they looked at Vice Principal Pang as if he was an invader. Rise up! Rise up! Rise up! We're united, braving the enemy's gunfire. Advance! 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 The voice seemed to come from the chest and the heart. It was filled with endless power. It made people's blood boil and tears brim in their eyes. When the last 3 lines of advance were sung, all the students took a step forward in unison. The uniform footsteps were like the sound of iron hooves stomping on Vice Principal Pang's heart. It made his heartstrings tremble and his face turn pale. The few Koreans were completely scared silly. This earth-shattering aura and grand and resonant singing made them see the spirit of the Chinese people. The Chinese soul that made people tremble at the mere mention of the name. Park Sherhoon couldn't care less about his pain. He rolled and crawled into the car and didn't dare to show his face. The arrogance from before was gone. What was left was deep shock and fear. The few of them curled up together and looked at each other, trembling. Vice Principal Pang's face turned pale. He didn't expect the students in China to be so powerful. Listening to the deafening voice, he felt as if thousands of knives were falling on his head. He suddenly had an ominous feeling. It seemed that things weren't as simple as he thought. Looking at the high and mighty Vice Principal Pang, the students' emotions reached a peak. One of them shouted, "Do you think you're superior just because you're standing so high? And those Koreans, do you think everything will be fine after they hide in the car? Smash the car and drag them out." Everyone echoed, "Yes, smash their car and drag them out. Let's see how they can still be so high and mighty." About 100 people rushed toward the 2 luxury cars. Bang! Everyone picked up the tools they had and smashed them on the car. The glass shattered and the car was dented. In a short while it looked like the surface of the moon. Vice Principal Pang stood on the roof of the car. He was still in shock. He felt like he was a small boat in the middle of the ocean. He could be overturned by the waves at any time and be smashed to pieces. At this time he didn't have the energy to rebuke. Even the security guards were scared. They kept retreating and didn't dare to stop them. Vice Principal Pang scrambled down from the roof of the car and hid among the security guards. He trembled as he looked at the scene. He was angry and scared. "Come out! Are you a coward? Hiding in the car?" Park Sherhoon and the rest hid in the car. They didn't dare to come out. "If they don't come out, drag them out and smash the car door." Bang! 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 The sound of knocking on the car door was like knocking on their hearts. They were terrified to the extreme. They curled up in a ball. Without a doubt, this would be a nightmare that would accompany them for the rest of their lives. "I'll do it." Chapter 1045. Seeing that Feng Xinyang was staring at him, Tang Jing thought that something big had happened. He quickly restrained his expression and became serious. "Little handsome brother, how are things going between you and Ding Dang?" Tang Jing was greatly embarrassed. Why would she ask such a question? If it was someone else, he could refuse to answer. However, the other party was Feng Xinyang. He simply could not refuse. After thinking for a while, he said, "We're pretty good." "Pretty good? Why did I hear that she has some conflicts with that princess and?" Tang Jing's eyes widened as he said in his heart, "You even know this?" Feng Xinyang gave him a look that said, "I've already seen through everything. Don't lie to me." She continued, "Ding Dang is an impatient girl. She doesn't know how to beat around the bush. If she does anything wrong, you have to bear with her." Tang Jing nodded his head like he was pounding garlic. "Aunt Feng, don't worry. Ding Dang is very sensible." Feng Xinyang's mouth finally revealed a trace of a smile and said, "If that's the case, then I can rest assured. Some things should be settled as soon as possible. You young people are impatient. I still have to worry about these things for you." Tang Jing was confused. He looked at her blankly. Feng Xinyang coughed and said in an earth-shattering manner, "Since you two are in love with each other, we as your parents have no objections. We are very willing to see you two truly come together. So find an auspicious date." "Aunt Feng, what do you mean?" The more Tang Zheng listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. Especially when he heard the words auspicious date. He immediately associated it with the beating of gongs and drums to welcome the bride. He immediately interrupted her. Feng Xinyang smiled and said, "Isn't this for your own good? Find an auspicious date, and you two can get engaged. Then after you graduate, you can get married. Isn't this a wonderful thing?" Tang Zheng was dumbfounded. His mouth opened so wide that a duck egg could be stuffed in it. He looked at Feng Xinyang in disbelief. He never expected that she was here to urge him to get married. Feng Xinyang's actions had always been unpredictable, but Tang Zheng had never thought that she would actually come to urge him to get married. This was too fierce. For a moment he didn't know how to answer. Feng Xinyang urged, "Little handsome boy, I know you're shy, but you're an adult. What's there to be shy about? I'll take care of it for you. You don't have to worry at all." "Wait, Aunt Feng," Tang Zheng hurriedly shouted. "Aunt Feng, don't be hasty in this matter. Ding Dang and I are still students. This will have a bad influence." Feng Xinyang didn't find it strange and said, "What does this matter? Nowadays there are even university students who have children. It's just an engagement." Tang Zheng coughed a few times and almost choked on his own saliva. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, "Aunt Feng, I know you're good to me, but I really wasn't mentally prepared. Let's wait a little longer." Feng Xinyang's smile gradually disappeared. She stared at Tang Zheng and seriously said, "Little handsome boy, are you dissatisfied with Ding Dang?" "Absolutely not." Tang Zheng shook his head like a rattledrum. "Since you are not dissatisfied, then all the more reason we should be together. We should be together in a proper manner." Feng Xinyang made the final decision. "Aunt Feng, this matter is too urgent." Seeing Tang Zheng continue to evade, Feng Xinyang knew that if she continued to push things would get worse. She resentfully said, "Fine, but after you graduate, I'll look for you again. At that time, you can't use your age as an excuse. But hey, if you guys give me a little grandson in the next few years, then I can accept it." Tang Zheng's legs went soft, and he almost fell to the ground. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at her. "Is Yi Ding Ding your biological daughter? How could you cheat your daughter like this?" However, when it came to giving birth, he became vigilant. He didn't use any safety measures and none of the women were pregnant. This was a great fortune. He couldn't be so willful in the future. Tang Zheng found an excuse and fled. He was afraid that she would say something shocking. Feng Xinyang looked at his receding figure and helplessly shook her head. She had to think of another way to deal with this matter slowly. Suddenly, he had an idea and looked at the villa beside him. "That's right, how could I be so stupid? Taking care of the little handsome brother is not easy, but I can first take care of the old Gramps. When the time comes that the old Gramps will acknowledge Ding Dong's identity and position, then wouldn't everything be set in stone?" Her eyes lit up as she pulled Yi Tianlei and rushed to the villa. Tang Zheng let out a long sigh of relief. Feng Xinyang's fierceness was beyond his imagination. Looking at his frightened expression, Marshall walked over and asked, "What happened to you?" Tang Zheng squeezed out a smile and said that he was fine. Nana jumped from the second floor like a little swallow and threw herself into his arms. She affectionately said, "Brother, quickly take me out to play. In a few days, I will have to go to school. At that time, I won't have time to play with brother." Nana was about to go to primary school. She had already contacted the school, so this was her last time to play. Tang Zheng moved his head and said, "All right, let's go outside to play. Brother wants to set up a formation. You can watch from the side, okay?" "What is a formation?" Nana tilted her head and asked. Nana is still young. When she grows up, she will naturally know. Nana made a no sound and was a little disappointed. Marshall curiously asked, "What kind of formation are you going to set up?" Tang Zheng pointed to the large area outside and said, "These buildings are inhabited by our people. For safety reasons, I am going to set up a formation. In addition, the smog in the capital is so serious. I plan to add a spirit gathering formation to improve the air here. Marshall happily nodded. This method is not bad. I will also take a look with you and broaden my horizons. Tang Zheng originally only planned to set up a spirit gathering formation to improve the air, but after thinking about it, he felt that it was far from enough. This place had been attacked time and time again. If there was a defensive formation, once the formation was activated, it would be able to protect everyone, as if an external enemy had invaded. Although he did not know many formations, he could not beat the inner demons and Chiyu. These two people had countless formations in their minds, so any one of them would be enough. The few of them arrived outside the villa and walked around a few villas. Then he had an idea in his heart. Chiyu, if the great heavenly cycle primordial formation is not as powerful as you say, I will find you to settle the score, Tang Zheng said. Chiyu seemed to have been greatly insulted as he indignantly said, Tang Zheng, it's fine if you don't know anything, but you actually dare to look down on my great heavenly cycle primordial formation. Do you know that my camp was set up with this formation? No enemy can quietly break through the formation. Tang Zheng smiled and did not refute, waiting to see how it would turn out. The inner demons did not refute this time. Instead, they helped Chiyu and said, I will say something fair. This great heavenly cycle primordial formation is indeed a first-class formation. Chiyu was not exaggerating. Humph, inner demons, you are finally willing to speak the truth for once, Chiyu said. The inner demons retorted, when have I not spoken the truth? Nana looked carefully. Tang Zheng took out a piece of jade and flicked it with his finger. Whoosh! The jade flew out and sank into a bush, disappearing without a trace. Big brother, is this how you set up a formation? Tang Zheng smiled and nodded his head. The formation is a very complicated system, and to have the corresponding function, one must have the support of energy. These jade stones contain a certain amount of energy, and when we place these jade stones according to a certain position and location, once the formation is activated, it will be able to play the corresponding role. But setting up a formation is a very delicate job, especially the more complicated the formation is, the more it requires that there is not the slightest mistake. Otherwise, the formation will not succeed. Nana nodded her head as if she understood. She clenched her snow-white teeth as if she wanted to firmly remember these words in her heart. Marshall also thoughtfully remembered everything. She was a martial artist and could not set up a formation like Tang Zheng. Moreover, her interest in formations was far weaker than her interest in martial arts. She believed that the best defense was offense, and no matter how strong a formation was, it was still a defensive line. Just looking at Tang Zheng's serious expression, the sunlight falling on his body, glowing, and giving off a very enchanting feeling. Big brother, can I give it a try? Suddenly, Nana eagerly asked. Tang Zheng pondered for a moment, then handed a jade stone to her hand and said, Nana, put the jade stone in that place. Looking at the direction Tang Zheng pointed at, Nana held her breath and silently circulated her energy. Imitating Tang Zheng, she flicked her finger. Whoosh! The jade stone turned into a ray of white light and flew into the target area. Wow, I also succeeded. Big brother, do you think I did well? Nana excitedly jumped up. Tang Zheng nodded his head in approval, patted her little head, and praised. Nana is very smart. You can do it as soon as I say it. He had to admit that Nana and other children of the same age were already worlds apart. Just that move of hers, whether it was strength or angle, could be considered beautiful. Suddenly, he had an idea and said, Nana, when you go to school, you can't show these skills in front of other people, otherwise you will scare the other children. Nana seemed to understand, but not fully. She looked up at Tang Zheng and said, Why? Because you are stronger than them, we can't use these skills to bully the weak. Do you understand? Nana thought for a moment and said, Is it like the heroes on TV, we have to help the weak, so we can't bully the weak? Tang Zheng laughed. Nana is very smart. You even learned the words help the weak. And we are not afraid of danger or the strong, but we can't bully the weak. Nana nodded her head. Nana understands, I will definitely remember Big Brother's words. Tang Zheng unhurriedly completed the rest of the work. All of the jade stones were inserted into the corresponding locations. He stood in the middle of the array and urged his qi, circulated his martial arts, and his 10 fingers slightly bent, as if by prior agreement, he flicked them open. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, 10 streams of true qi burst out from his fingers and entered 10 different directions at the same time. Hua! Chapter 1046. The aura of the heavens and earth instantly changed, and the foul air in the air quickly melted away. A vortex appeared in the sky, and the vast and mighty spirit qi fell from the center of the vortex, directly fusing into the huge light shield. Wu took a deep breath and exclaimed, "Wow, the air is so fresh." Nana also hurriedly nodded and said, "This feels so comfortable. The sun doesn't seem so hot anymore." A cool breeze blew over. This feeling was especially obvious. It was as if they had come to another world. It was completely different from the scorching heat from before. Tang Zheng did not expect the effect to be so good. This great heavenly cycle primordial array also had a spirit gathering array. The two arrays perfectly merged into one. This kind of ability was not something an ordinary person could do. It was only under Qi Yu's guidance that Tang Zheng was able to do it so easily. Hee Tang Zheng, what do you think? I didn't lie to you, right? My great heavenly cycle primordial array is not something an ordinary array can compare to. Qi Yu proudly said. This is only on the surface. As for how strong its defensive power is, it still needs to be tested. Although Tang Zheng already believed Qi Yu's words, he could not help but strike a blow. Towards Qi Yu he could not wantonly praise him. Otherwise his tail would rise to the sky. Qi Yu heavily snorted a few times, but there was nothing he could do about it. When the others saw this scene, they all walked out of the house and suspiciously looked up. The light barrier and whirlpool in the sky had already become very faint. If one did not focus, they would not be able to see it clearly. Moreover, it was still becoming fainter. Everyone looked at Tang Zheng. Without a doubt, this scene was most likely caused by him. Everyone, don't panic. I only set up a large array. Tang Zheng loudly explained. The people living here were all his own people, so he did not need to worry about speaking. Wu Junshan curiously asked, "What is the use of this array?" "It improves the air in this area and protects everyone." "You don't say. The air has really become fresh. It's like being in a mountain forest." Feng Xinyang took a deep breath and exclaimed. The others also noticed this, and their faces were full of surprise. This is only the beginning. The longer this formation operates, the better the air quality here will become, and it won't be affected by the outside world. The air quality in the capital is really bad. When will it be like here? Yi Tianlei sighed with disappointment and frustration. Feng Xinyang glared at him and said, "You're the only one who cares about the country and the people." Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Uncle Yi, don't worry. In the near future, our air quality will become the same as in ancient times. No matter where we go, it will be like being in a mountain forest." He believed that the Tree of Life could do this. "I hope I can see it in my lifetime," Yi Tianlei said. Lan Yu retracted her gaze. The strange phenomenon in the sky had completely disappeared. The clouds were calm, as if nothing had happened. She asked, "You said that this formation can protect everyone, so it has a defensive ability. How strong is its defensive ability?" "Everyone can give it a try," Tang Zheng suggested. He also wanted to know how strong this primordial heavenly cycle array was. "Alright, then let's give it a try." Everyone walked out of the array. Some people walked quickly, and when they reached the edge of the array, they were bounced back with a bang. The others looked at this scene in surprise. They knew that this was the effect of the array. This array doesn't only have a defensive ability against the outside world. Once the array is activated, even the people inside will leave. Tang Zheng explained. Then isn't this very inconvenient? We'll be cut off from the world. Although it was only a step outside and they could see everything clearly, they couldn't leave at all. This array was a bit useless. Tang Zheng had already thought of this point, so he already had a countermeasure. He said, "These are some jade stones that I made. In the future, Everyone who enters and exits the array must wear jade stones. The array will automatically recognize them. Without jade stones, there is no way for people to enter or exit. These jade stones are a type of identification tool. Tang Zheng spread out his hands. His palms were filled with sparkling jade stones. I've also carved some small defensive formations into these jade stones. They can withstand a certain amount of attacks. They're equivalent to protective talismans. That's great, then we'll accept it. Feng Xinyang took a piece of jade stone and played with it nonstop, as if she wanted to find some clues, but with her eyes, she couldn't find anything. She carefully wore it on her body and walked out of the array with large strides. She walked out of the formation safe and sound. She looked back and said happily, "It really worked." The others also took out the jade stones and wore them on their bodies. Sure enough, they could enter and leave freely. In this way, this area was equivalent to Tang Zheng's small kingdom. Outsiders had no way to enter or leave. Fortunately, this area was sparsely populated, and a few houses had already been bought by Tang Zheng. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for him to do this. Right now, the people who lived here were all closely related to him. Other than his family, there were also the warriors of the witch clan. They were all on his side. You can try to attack the array from outside and see what effect it has. Tang Zheng reminded. Feng Xinyang couldn't wait any longer. She slapped the air with her palm. Although there was nothing, she felt a strong rebounding force. Pung, she was bounced back and flew far away. She staggered and landed on the ground. Feng Xinyang was very clear about her own strength. This palm strike was enough to split open a boulder, but she did not expect that it would still be bounced back. All of the force was used on her own palm. If not for her profound strength, she would have been injured by her own palm. When the others saw this scene, they understood the power of the array and stopped underestimating it. Lan Yu stood outside the array and held her breath. She channeled her power and pointed out a finger. A terrifying power burst out from her fingertip and directly tore through the air, fiercely striking the array. Boom! The array shook violently. A ray of light flashed, and then quieted down. Lan Yu's attack still did not break the array. Her eyes could not help but reveal a strange look. The power of this attack was much stronger than Feng Xinyang's attack. She did not continue probing, but nodded in satisfaction. This array is indeed powerful. With the array's defense, at least the enemy will not be able to sneak attack us. This was the most important point. Facing a top-notch expert, this array would definitely not be able to block it. However, it could stall for time and even cause a huge commotion. This was enough for the others to rush over and provide support. Tang Zheng agreed. That makes sense. Just how strong of an attack can this array of yours withstand? Wu Junshan asked curiously. Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to answer because he did not know the answer himself. He could only ask Qiyu. Qiyu seemed to be a little angry because of Tang Zheng's distrust and deliberately did not say, "You can figure this out yourself." Tang Zheng helplessly shrugged and said, "We can only slowly figure this out. When the time comes and we meet the enemy, we will know." The others looked at each other, but this was not a big deal, so they did not bother with it. Everyone was not tired of moving around inside and outside the array. It was very refreshing. In the evening, when Yi Dingdang, Fang Shishir, Lu Qingmei, and An returned, they were also very interested and excitedly moved around for a while before finally stopping. Yi Dingdang was dragged back by Feng Xinyang. It seemed that the mother and daughter were preparing to talk through the night again. At the same time, inside the palace, the lights were brightly lit. The bureau chief looked at the sect leader in front of him with a grave expression, and fiercely slammed the teacup on the table. With a bang, he said with dissatisfaction, "Didn't you say that you were very powerful? How come you couldn't even kill one Ji Wuxiang, and were saved by Tang Zheng in the end?" It was the bureau chief's order to get rid of Ji Wuxiang, because Ji Wuxiang was the opponent's white glove. Getting rid of him would be a great help to the opponent. However, he did not expect that even the sect leader could not succeed. This made him very shocked and very angry. The sect leader's eyes were as calm as an ancient well. He said lightly, "It was my mistake this time. The opponent had Tang Zheng's help. That's why they managed to escape. It's Tang Zheng again. The bureau chief finally could not take it anymore and threw the teacup on the ground. With a bang, the teacup shattered and tea splashed everywhere. Number 1 stood at the door and trembled in fear. Recently, the bureau chief seemed to be angrier and angrier. However, there was nothing he could do. He could only be more careful, afraid of angering the bureau chief. The sect leader was not afraid at all and continued. Tang Zheng is the biggest hidden danger. If this person is not eliminated, neither you nor I will be able to rest in peace. The bureau chief snorted and said, "It's not up to you to decide how to deal with him. I have my own plans. Since we've already alerted the enemy, it won't be easy to deal with Ji Wuxiang. Therefore, I will not act rashly during this period of time." Another thing worth noting is that Tang Zheng went to the Yi residence today and caused a ruckus there. This was definitely not done on a whim. He always does things with a purpose. Therefore, this matter needs to be thoroughly investigated. The sect leader reminded. The bureau chief rolled his eyes and stared at the sect leader, saying, "The Yi residence already has a grudge with Tang Zheng. What's wrong with Tang Zheng causing a ruckus in the Yi residence? It's better to investigate some things clearly. Otherwise, if we miss something important, it will be too late to regret it in the future," the sect leader said disapprovingly. The bureau chief muttered to himself. Although he was very angry with the sect leader, he had to admit that the sect leader was very capable. Naturally, his foresight was not bad. Since he brought up this matter, it was definitely not without reason. "Okay, I'll ask Yi Xuanji now." The bureau chief dialed Yi Xuanji's number in front of the sect leader. "Old Yi, I heard that Tang Zheng went to cause a ruckus in the Yi residence today. This person is really becoming more and more arrogant. It's too outrageous," the bureau chief asked. "The bureau chief personally called me to show concern. I, Yi Xuanji, am really grateful. Tang Zheng just likes to find trouble. I've already chased him away," Yi Xuanji said shamelessly. He was not embarrassed to lie at all. How was Tang Zheng chased away by him? He was purely trying to save face. The bureau chief did not care about these details and said, "Then what did he want?" Chapter 1047. The chess piece landed, and a sudden change occurred. A tyrannical force once again struck the High Lord's body, and blood seeped out from under his clothes, forming a dark red patch. "You." The High Lord gasped for breath. His breathing became extremely hurried and chaotic, and he was actually unable to say a complete sentence. He propped himself up with his palm on the ground, turned into a ray of light, and fiercely rushed towards Ji Wuxiang. "Stop!" Tang Zheng shouted loudly, the sun-shooting arrow and heaven-shocking bow in his hands. The bowstring trembled. The sun-shooting arrow flew out like a meteor, arriving in front of Ji Wuxiang in the blink of an eye. Ji Wuxiang's face changed. "How did your sun-shooting arrow become so powerful?" Tang Zheng sneered with a thought. The speed of the sun-shooting arrow increased. The High Lord flipped in the air, the sun-shooting arrow brushing past his scalp. However, before he could rejoice, he saw the sun-shooting arrow turn back in midair. His expression changed greatly as he looked at the sun-shooting arrow and Tang Zheng in disbelief. This was even more powerful than he had expected. Seeing the sun-shooting arrow flying over again, and Ji Wuxiang opening his mouth, as if he was about to speak again, his expression turned cold. He looked at Tang Zheng hatefully, then looked at Ji Wuxiang unwillingly, turned around and left. Like a whirlwind, he flew up and over the courtyard wall. Boom! The sun-shooting arrow missed and shot into the corner of the wall. After a loud sound, a huge hole appeared at the foot of the wall, and gravel flew into the air. Tang Zheng stomped his foot in hatred, and said indignantly, "The High Lord is too shameless. Once he finds out that something is wrong, he actually runs away. Is he addicted to being a deserter? You ran away last time, and now you're running away again." Tang Zheng was very clear that the High Lord was not completely afraid of the power of the shooting sun arrow. Although the shooting sun arrow was a saint tool, with Tang Zheng's strength, it was not enough to truly threaten the High Lord. The High Lord was clearly afraid of Ji Wuxiang and Tang Zheng joining forces. With the celestial chess and Tang Zheng attacking together, the power of the shooting sun arrow would naturally increase greatly. Even the High Lord would not dare to underestimate it. The other players were sweating profusely, as if they had just been fished out of the water. Their stiff faces finally showed a hint of relaxation. It was obvious that the battle just now was a great test for them. Young Master Tang, thank you for your timely arrival. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to see tomorrow's sunrise. Ji Wuxiang heaved a long sigh and expressed his gratitude. Tang Zheng shook his head slightly. President Ji's words are too serious. Your celestial chess is very powerful. Even if I didn't come, I'm afraid that we might not have failed. Ji Wuxiang smiled bitterly. Young Master Tang, you've only seen the surface, but you haven't seen the inside. Although we seem to be able to hold on, we definitely wouldn't have been able to hold on for long without your help. Tang Zheng frowned and asked, why, didn't you say that the celestial chess is very powerful? The High Lord wanted to use the celestial chess to deal with Tang Zheng and the others, including the Empyrean Fairy and Tian Chanzi. From this, it could be seen that the celestial chess was very powerful, so how could the High Lord not be able to deal with it? This did not make sense. Ji Wuxiang said resentfully. You only know part of the story, but not the whole story. It's true that the celestial chess is very powerful, but we didn't even use the celestial chess true power. What we did just now was only the tip of the iceberg. To truly use the celestial chess true power, it would require a lot of complicated and harsh conditions. Oh, I'd like to hear the details. What did Director Ji mean by Fekta and Merak just now? Tang Zheng asked curiously as he stared at Ji Wuxiang with burning eyes. Ji Wuxiang did not hesitate and said openly, this is the celestial chess moves. Fekta and Merak represent each move. The celestial chess has a total of 7 moves, which are Dubhi, Merak, Fekta, Migrez, Alioth, Mizar, and Alcade. Each move has its own internal connections and changes. Only those who practice the celestial chess on a daily basis can master its mysteries and use its corresponding power. I am the core of the celestial chess, so all the celestial chess players have to listen to my orders to place their pieces and move, so that they can use its great power. The power of the celestial chess can be big or small. It can be limited to a courtyard, but it can also be expanded to a city. Tang Zheng nodded and suddenly realized. No wonder. Just now, I didn't notice anything strange outside the Celestial Chess Club. So many people walked by and didn't notice anything strange. However, once you enter the Celestial Chess Club, it's a completely different scene. It's truly a different world. Director Ji is truly a genius. Although I've only seen the tip of the iceberg of the Celestial Chess today, it's already left a deep impression on me. I believe the High Lord feels the same way. Young Master Tang, you flatter me. The celestial chess is indeed powerful, but it's only a half-finished product now. The High Lord will definitely have designs on the celestial chess. Although I stopped him once, I might not be able to stop him a second time. I'm not afraid of thieves stealing, but I'm afraid of thieves thinking about it. Ji Wuxiang said helplessly. Then why don't you seize the time to set up the celestial chess? At that time, even if the High Lord comes to attack, he might not be able to get anything out of it. Tang Zheng disagreed. Ji Wuxiang fell silent. His expression kept changing as he hesitated to speak. Tang Zheng looked at him with furrowed brows and said, Director Ji, if you have something to say, just say it. There's no need to beat around the bush. Ji Wuxiang stared at Tang Zheng without blinking. After a long time he said, Since young Master Tang is so straightforward, then I won't beat around the bush. I hope young Master Tang can lend me a hand so that the celestial chess can truly be completed. At that time, no matter how powerful the High Lord is, he won't be able to threaten us anymore. Tang Zheng didn't expect Ji Wuxiang to raise such a suggestion. For a moment he didn't know how to answer. He had always been wary of Ji Wuxiang, and Ji Wuxiang's words obviously didn't treat him as an outsider. If he helped Ji Wuxiang, then he would definitely have more opportunities to understand the celestial chess. In fact, Tang Zheng was also quite interested in the celestial chess. Ji Wuxiang made it sound so powerful, but Tang Zheng didn't understand the principles behind it. If he had a grudge with Ji Wuxiang in the future, then wouldn't Ji Wuxiang also use the celestial chess to deal with him? If he knew some of the key points and secrets of the celestial chess, then maybe he could counter Ji Wuxiang. Most importantly, he had Qiyu and the inner demons in his body. These two's knowledge and insight were unquestionable. Even if he couldn't find any clues, these two would definitely gain a lot and tell him. At that time, it would be equivalent to him knowing. The inner demons urged. Young man, agree to his request. This celestial chess is very interesting. I want to see what's going on. Qiyu snorted coldly and said with dissatisfaction. Just deliberately mystifying. The inner demons retorted. Qiyu, don't go against your conscience just because you came to save him today. This celestial chess is something neither you nor I have ever seen before. Don't you want to see its secrets? Qiyu was silent. The inner demons had hit the nail on the head. Haha, young man, you see he has nothing to say. This means that he can't refute me. My suggestion is to agree to his request, and then figure out the secrets of the celestial chess. Maybe you can use the celestial chess in the future. Isn't that a good thing? There's no harm in having more skills. This saying has been passed down since ancient times. There's naturally a reason for it. Fine, I'll agree to his request. I want to see what's so great about this celestial chess. I don't want it to be just a trick to fool people in the end. Qiyu said indignantly. Tang Zheng pondered for a long time before coming to a decision. Since both of them agreed to his request, then agreeing would be more useful than refusing. Ji Wuxiang stared straight at Tang Zheng, waiting for his answer. Okay, I'll agree to your request. However, I don't know how to play celestial chess. I may not be able to help you much. Tang Zheng said without batting an eyelid. Ji Wuxiang was immediately overjoyed. His eyes lit up as he impatiently said, Young Master Tang is too modest. With your help, this celestial chess will definitely be completed soon. At that time, you'll be able to see the true face of the celestial chess. Haha, then I'll wait and see. What do you want to do next? Tang Zheng smiled faintly. Ji Wuxiang turned his head and looked around. He pointed at the messy courtyard and said, I need to tidy up this place first. Although the chess club has been destroyed, the most important foundation is still here. Therefore, in a few days, we can begin to set up the celestial chess. Do you need my help in the meantime? No need. How could I trouble young Master Tang with such a small matter? Tang Zheng nodded and glanced at the other chess players. They had all turned back into puppets, sitting quietly in front of the chessboard and playing without any distractions. At this time, Tang Zheng no longer dared to underestimate these seemingly weak chess players. When they worked together, the power they could unleash was frightening. Then I'll take my leave first. If there's anything else, we'll contact each other again. Tang Zheng cupped his hands and took his leave. Ji Wuxiang walked him to the door. When he opened the door to the chess club, the clamor outside immediately traveled in. Just now, the inside of the door was incomparably quiet, as if it was another world. Now that the door was opened, the two worlds seemed to merge into one. It was truly incomparably miraculous. Tang Zheng couldn't help but look forward to the upcoming cooperation even more. After leaving the chess club, Tang Zheng asked Qiyu and the inner demons if the great desolate aura was still there. Qiyu said snappily, Do you think the other party is an idiot? Since he has gotten rid of you, he will definitely think of a way to hide. Why would he show his face? Tang Zheng had also expected this result, but he could not guess who in the Ye family had been possessed. How was that possible? There were so many people in the Ye family, that would be too difficult. Moreover, if he went to the Ye family again, it would be useless. He had already caused a huge ruckus in the Ye family. If he went again, it might cause some sort of disturbance. On the contrary, it would cause Yi Tianlei's family to be in a dilemma. There are so many things that escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and we have only found a few of them. What about the rest? Could it be that you really have no other choice but to sit at home and wait? Tang Zheng asked unhappily. Qiyu and the inner demons naturally sensed his displeasure and hurriedly comforted him. That might not be the case. If you go to the famous mountains or walk around the various cities, perhaps we will be able to discover even more of the great desolate aura. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes speechlessly. This is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Do you know that? Where do I have that much time? Qiyu's heart skipped a beat, and he suggested, Didn't you already take the Li Palace under your command? Li Palace's eyes and ears are all over the world, and they are well informed. Let them gather abnormal information from all over the world, such as who suddenly became powerful, or what strange event that science cannot explain. This is a sign, and if we follow the map and identify the targets one by one, we will naturally be able to achieve twice the result with half the effort. Chapter 1048. The aura of the heavens and earth instantly changed, and the foul air in the air quickly melted away. A vortex appeared in the sky, and the vast and mighty spirit chi fell from the center of the vortex, directly fusing into the huge light shield. Wu took a deep breath and exclaimed, "Wow, the air is so fresh." Nana also hurriedly nodded and said, "This feels so comfortable. The sun doesn't seem so hot anymore." A cool breeze blew over. This feeling was especially obvious. It was as if they had come to another world. It was completely different from the scorching heat from before. Tang Zheng did not expect the effect to be so good. This great heavenly cycle primordial array also had a spirit gathering array. The two arrays perfectly merged into one. This kind of ability was not something an ordinary person could do. It was only under Qi Yu's guidance that Tang Zheng was able to do it so easily. Hee Tang Zheng, what do you think? I didn't lie to you, right? My great heavenly cycle primordial array is not something an ordinary array can compare to. Qi Yu proudly said. This is only on the surface. As for how strong its defensive power is, it still needs to be tested. Although Tang Zheng already believed Qi Yu's words, he could not help but strike a blow. Towards Qi Yu he could not wantonly praise him. Otherwise his tail would be raised to the sky. Qi Yu heavily snorted a few times, but there was nothing he could do. When the others saw this scene, they all walked out of the house and suspiciously looked up. The light barrier and whirlpool in the sky had already become very faint. If one did not focus, they would not be able to see it clearly. Moreover, it was still becoming fainter. Everyone looked at Tang Zheng. Without a doubt, this scene was most likely caused by him. Everyone, don't panic. I only set up a large array. Tang Zheng loudly explained. The people living here were all on the same side, so there was no need to worry about speaking. Wu Junshan curiously asked, "What is the use of this array?" "It improves the air in this area and protects everyone." "Hey, you don't say. The air has really become fresh. It's like being in a mountain forest." Feng Xinyang took a deep breath and exclaimed. The others also noticed this, and their faces were full of surprise. This is only the beginning. The longer this formation operates, the better the air quality here will become, and it won't be affected by the outside world. Sai, the air quality in the capital is really bad. When will it be like here? Yi Tianlei sighed with disappointment and frustration. Feng Xinyang glared at him and said, "You're the only one who cares about the country and the people." Tang Zheng smiled and said, "Uncle Yi, don't worry. In the near future, our air quality will become the same as in ancient times. No matter where we go, it will be like being in a mountain forest." He believed that the Tree of Life could do this. "I hope I can see it in my lifetime," Yi Tianlei said. Lan Yu retracted her gaze. The strange phenomenon in the sky had completely disappeared. The clouds were calm, as if nothing had happened. She asked, "You said that this formation can protect everyone, so it has a defensive ability. How strong is its defensive ability?" "Everyone can give it a try," Tang Zheng suggested. He also wanted to know how strong this primordial heavenly cycle array was. "Alright, then let's give it a try." Everyone walked out of the array. Some people walked quickly, and when they reached the edge of the array, they were bounced back with a bang. The others looked at this scene in surprise. They knew that this was the effect of the array. This array doesn't only have a defensive ability against the outside world. Once the array is activated, even the people inside will leave. Tang Zheng explained. Then isn't this very inconvenient? We'll be cut off from the outside world. Although it was only a step outside and they could see everything clearly, they couldn't leave at all. This array was a bit useless. Tang Zheng had already thought of this point, so he already had a countermeasure. He said, "These are some jade stones that I made. In the future, Everyone who enters and exits the array must wear jade stones. The array will automatically recognize them. Without jade stones, there is no way for people to enter or exit. These jade stones are a type of identification tool. Tang Zheng spread out his hands. His palms were filled with sparkling jade stones. I've also engraved some small defensive arrays on this jade stone. It can withstand a certain amount of attacks. It's equivalent to a protective talisman. Great, then it would be impolite for us to refuse. Feng Xinyang took a piece of jade and played with it non-stop, as if she wanted to find some clues, but with her eyes, she couldn't find anything. She carefully wore it on her body and strode out of the array. She walked out of the formation unscathed. She looked back and said happily, "It really worked." The others also took the jade stones and wore them on their bodies. Sure enough, they could enter and leave freely. In this way, this area was equivalent to Tang Zheng's small kingdom. Outsiders couldn't enter or leave at all. Fortunately, this area was sparsely populated and a few houses had already been bought by Tang Zheng. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy for him to do this. Right now, the people who lived here were all closely related to him. Other than his family, there were also the warriors of the witch clan. They were all on his side. You can try to attack the array from outside and see what effect it has. Tang Zheng reminded. Feng Xinyang could not wait any longer and slapped the air with her palm. Although there was nothing, she felt a huge recoil. Pung! She was bounced back and flew far away, staggering as she landed on the ground. Feng Xinyang was very clear about her own strength. This palm strike was enough to split open a boulder, but she didn't expect that it would still be bounced back. All of the force was used on her own palm. If not for her profound strength, she would have been injured by her own palm. When the others saw this scene, they understood the power of the array and stopped underestimating it. Lan Yu stood outside the array and held her breath with rapt attention. She circulated her power and pointed out a finger. A terrifying power burst forth from her fingertip, directly tearing through the air and fiercely striking the array. Boom! The array shook violently. A ray of light flashed and then quieted down. Lan Yu's attack still did not break the array. Her eyes couldn't help but reveal a strange look. The power of this attack was much stronger than Feng Xinyang's attack. She didn't continue probing, but nodded in satisfaction. This array is indeed powerful. With the array's defense, at least the enemy won't be able to sneak attack us. This was the most important point. Facing a top-notch expert, this array would definitely not be able to block it. However, it could stall for time and even cause a huge commotion. This was enough for the others to rush over and provide support. Tang Zheng agreed. That makes sense. How powerful can this formation of yours withstand? Wu Junshan asked curiously. Tang Zheng was not in a hurry to answer because he didn't know the answer himself. He could only ask Qiyu. Qiyu seemed to be a little angry because of Tang Zheng's distrust and deliberately didn't say, "You can figure this out yourself." Tang Zheng helplessly shrugged and said, "We can only slowly figure this out. When we meet the enemy, we'll know." The others looked at each other, but this wasn't a big deal, so they didn't bother with it. Everyone happily shuttled back and forth inside the array. It was very refreshing. In the evening, when Yi Dingdang, Fang Shishir, Lu Qingmei, and An returned, they were also very interested. They excitedly played around for a while before finally stopping. Yi Dingdang was dragged back by Feng Xinyang. It seemed that the mother and daughter were preparing to talk through the night again. At the same time, inside the inner palace, the lights were brightly lit. The bureau chief looked at the sect leader in front of him coldly and fiercely slammed his teacup on the table. With a bang, he said with dissatisfaction, "Didn't you say that you were very powerful? How come you couldn't even kill one Ji Wuxiang? In the end, you were even saved by Tang Zheng?" It was the bureau chief's order to get rid of Ji Wuxiang because Ji Wuxiang was the opponent's white glove. Getting rid of him would be a great help to the opponent. However, he didn't expect that even the sect leader couldn't succeed. This made him very shocked and very angry. The sect leader's eyes were as calm as an ancient well. He said lightly, "It was my mistake this time. The opponent had Tang Zheng's help. That's why he managed to escape. It's Tang Zheng again. The bureau chief finally couldn't take it anymore, and threw the teacup in his hand to the ground. With a bang, the teacup shattered and tea splashed everywhere. Number 1 stood at the door and trembled in fear. Recently, the bureau chief seemed to be angrier and angrier. However, he couldn't do anything about it. He could only be more careful, afraid of angering the bureau chief. However, the sect leader wasn't afraid at all and continued. Tang Zheng is the biggest hidden danger. If this person isn't eliminated, you and I won't be able to rest in peace. The bureau chief snorted and said, "It's not up to you to decide how to deal with him. I have my own plans. Since we've already alerted the enemy, it won't be easy to deal with Ji Wuxiang. That's why I won't act rashly during this period of time." Another thing worth noting is that Tang Zheng went to the Yi residence today and caused a ruckus there. This definitely wasn't done on a whim. He always does things with a purpose. That's why this matter needs to be investigated thoroughly. The sect leader reminded. The bureau chief rolled his eyes and stared at the sect leader, saying, "The Yi residence has always had a grudge with Tang Zheng. What's wrong with Tang Zheng causing a ruckus in the Yi residence? Some things are better investigated thoroughly. Otherwise, if we miss out on something important, it'll be too late to regret it in the future," the sect leader said disapprovingly. The bureau chief muttered to himself. Although he was very angry with the sect leader, he couldn't help but admit that the sect leader was very capable. His judgment was naturally not bad. Since he brought up this matter, it definitely wasn't without reason. "Okay, I'll ask Yi Xuanji right now." The bureau chief dialed Yi Xuanji's number in front of the sect leader. "Old Yi, I heard that Tang Zheng went to cause a ruckus in the Yi residence today. This person is really becoming more and more arrogant. It's too outrageous," the bureau chief asked. "The bureau chief personally called me to show concern. I, Yi Xuanji, am really grateful. Tang Zheng just likes to find trouble. I've already chased him away," Yi Xuanji said shamelessly. He didn't seem embarrassed at all to lie. Tang Zheng wasn't chased away by him. It was purely because he wanted to save face. However, the bureau chief didn't care about these details and said, "Then what did he want?" Chapter 1049. The Lord also heard Yi Xuanji's words and shook his head slightly. It was obvious that he didn't believe Yi Xuanji's words. The bureau chief understood and of course had the same idea. He coldly laughed and said, "Old Yi, you're too dishonest. Who can hide what happened in the capital from?" This seemingly simple sentence gave Yi Xuanji a lot of pressure. The Ye family was no longer what it used to be. He had to give the government face and also rely on them. If he didn't tell the truth, then many things would become worse. Yi Xuanji hesitated but quickly reacted. He smiled as if nothing happened and said, "The bureau chief's words are reasonable. The main thing is that these are all trivial matters that aren't worth mentioning." "But I want to hear it," the bureau chief said concisely. These 4 words blocked all of Yi Xuanji's excuses. Yi Xuanji suddenly froze as he resentfully said, "Tang Zheng purposely barged into my house and said something about possessing my body. I don't understand what he said as I feel that it is all just an excuse." Being possessed? Desolate aura? The bureau chief was confused and suspiciously looked at the Lord. The Lord's expression changed as if he was thinking about something. "Is there anything else?" the bureau chief asked. He insisted that someone in my Ye family was possessed. Actually, there was no such thing. In the end, he didn't find anything and left. Yi Xuanji angrily said, as if he didn't believe this nonsense at all. "Okay, if there's anything else, you must inform me," the bureau chief said in a deep voice. "Bureau chief, Tang Zheng didn't put my Ye family in his eyes at all. This means that he didn't put you in his eyes. This kind of person can't be tolerated." Yi Xuanji didn't miss the chance to criticize Tang Zheng. The bureau chief heavily snorted and hung up the phone. He then stared at the Lord and asked, "What did you think?" The Lord's expression kept changing. After a while he said, "I'm afraid this matter isn't that simple. We need to investigate further. Being possessed is another soul occupying another person's body. This kind of thing can only be done by cultivators. Could it be that some powerful cultivator has appeared in this world? But why would they want to possess him?" The bureau chief frowned and said, We have to investigate these messy matters thoroughly. Since Tang Zheng values it so much, it must be something serious. We can't let him get the upper hand. The possessed person's usual behavior is completely different from before. If we follow this clue, we might be able to find out who in the Ye family was possessed. The Great Lord quickly came up with a plan. This isn't a difficult task. There will be results soon, the bureau chief said confidently. The Great Lord looked at him deeply and saw that he did not find it difficult to think. Instead, he was full of confidence. This meant that he had already planted spies in the Ye family. Perhaps that was not all. He had spies in all the major families and forces in the capital, except for Tang Zheng's new force. The core members of Tang Zheng's group were all people who had been in contact with each other countless times, or warriors of the witch tribe. It was impossible for other people to break into this group. Chief, you're really prepared for a rainy day. Brilliant. The Great Lord gave a rare compliment. The bureau chief laughed and said, Of course. It's a pity that Tang Zheng's side is impenetrable. We can't find out more information. The Great Lord said regretfully. A glint flashed across the bureau chief's eyes. He said with a half-smile, Is that so? I believe that everything depends on effort. There's nothing absolute in this world. The Great Lord stared at the bureau chief without blinking, as if he wanted to find some clues from his eyes and expression. However, the other party was so shrewd that he could not see through him at all. Continue to keep an eye on Ji Wuxiang. This person must be eliminated. I want to remove that person's right-hand man. The bureau chief's eyes flashed coldly as he said firmly. The Great Lord nodded lightly and left. Number 1 walked over from the door and said, Bureau Chief, did the Great Lord tell the truth? He knows more about cultivators than we do. If he keeps some key information and gets the upper hand, wouldn't it be very disadvantageous for us? The bureau chief smiled coldly. I've never been so conservative. More flowers means more results. What you said makes a lot of sense. Therefore, we have to start with Tang Zheng. Oh, how do we do it? Didn't he just say that Tang Zheng's side is impenetrable? I want to plant someone by his side and let the Great Lord see whose methods are better. The bureau chief said solemnly. Number 1 was enlightened. However, he was smart enough not to ask the bureau chief what he was going to do. This was an absolute secret. It might not be a good thing for him to know too much. University officially started. Tang Zheng stepped into the life of a sophomore. He did not skip classes on the first day. Instead, he went to class obediently and attracted a lot of attention. Although he was not an arrogant person, he had experienced too many things and was well known. Even among his classmates, other than a few of his roommates, the others were only nodding acquaintances with him. The class schedule on the first day was quite full. There were classes the whole morning. After class ended at noon, he walked to the cafeteria with his roommates. Halfway there, his phone rang. Boss, it's me, Feng Yong. Feng Yong's voice could not wait to come out of the phone. Speaking of Feng Yong, he was an anomaly. Tang Zheng had once taught him martial arts, and he could be considered to be hard-working in his cultivation. He had some small achievements, but in front of a true expert, that little bit of martial arts was not worth mentioning. However, he was now a famous person in his own school. He was a pioneer in entrepreneurship and was definitely a classic example. This was all because of his talent in business. In the past, his girlfriend had complained to Tang Zheng that he always went to those small alleys and corners, causing a lot of criticism. However, later on, they found out that he was doing market research. In the past, he found it hard to talk about his family's sex toy business. He was dismissive of it, but after thinking it through, he dived in. After doing market research, he moved the family business from offline stores to online. Through various online marketing, the sales increased by several times in a short period of time. Of course, he was also a controversial person. However, his heart was very strong and could not be affected by all kinds of criticism. Hearing his voice, Tang Zheng smiled and asked, Fatty, why did you think of calling me? Boss, I'm so angry. Quickly look on the internet. You're being scolded by countless people. Feng Yong said with righteous indignation. Tang Zheng frowned. When did he expose himself on the internet? He did not do anything big recently. What's the situation? Tell me briefly, Tang Jung asked. Did you have a conflict with a few Korean people recently? Tang Jung moved his head and said, Yes, is there a problem? This matter was exaggerated and spread on the internet. There were also a few photos. Then, that crazy Korean person kept scolding you like crazy. Now it's a hot topic on Weibo. Tang Jung was stunned. He did not expect that the incident that day would develop further. In his eyes, those Koreans were not even worth mentioning. He had long forgotten about them. Quickly open Weibo and take a look. Tang Jung did not have Weibo on his phone. He asked his roommates, who has Weibo? Open it and take a look. I think I've been scolded. Scolded? The others were confused and quickly opened Weibo. As expected, the top topic was the incident between Tang Jung and the Korean, Park Seo-hoon. After clicking on it, there was a strict condemnation letter with photos of Tang Jung beating up Park Seo-hoon and Park Seo-hoon's miserable appearance. This ignited the fury of Park Seo-hoon's fans, as they started cursing Tang Jung's 18 generations of ancestors, all of his direct relatives, and even all of his female friends. Their filthy words were unbearable to look at. The few of them only took a few glances before they were fuming with anger. Their eyes were about to spit fire. Bang! Do Long fiercely threw his phone on the ground, as if he was still angry. He stomped his feet a few times and roared angrily. Damn it, this group of people are spouting nonsense. They actually dare to scold OL Third. Seeing him so impulsive, Tang Jung's anger dissipated. He patted everyone's shoulders and advised, Well, too, don't be so impatient. They're just a bunch of ignorant people. Why are you angry with them? You'll only hurt yourself and let them off easy. Look at your phone, didn't it suffer? Sinosaurus huffed and puffed. He raised his head and said in a rough voice, Am I not too angry? Seeing OL3 being bullied, I, Sinosaurus, am the first to take it lying down. Zhou Yan also patted Sinosaurus's shoulder and said, OL2, you're angering yourself and making the enemy secretly happy. We have to analyze this matter and find out who's behind it. Then we'll settle the score with them. That's the key. Wang Shiji nodded in agreement. OL4 is right. We have to grasp the key point. Sinosaurus blew his beard and glared. I'm not that rational. Moreover, is there even a need to look at this matter? It's definitely that Korean stick's doing. From their actions that day, we can tell that they're not good people. They like to use these dirty tricks. Boss, I've analyzed it. Although this denunciation letter was sent in the tone of a fan, with my long experience and professional vision, I can tell that this matter is definitely carefully planned by someone. It has a strong purpose and is not simply a fan venting. Feng Yong said on the other end of the phone. I've already entered your school gate. Where are you? I'll be there soon. When the time comes, we'll discuss and find out who's behind this. Chapter 1050. Feng Yong gasped for breath as he ran over. It seemed that he had gained a lot of weight. When he ran, he was like a small moving mountain. He did not bother to wipe the sweat off his forehead as he said with righteous indignation, Boss, this matter must not be left as it is. He actually dared to slander my boss. Is he not putting me in his eyes? I've already hired a water army to fight them to the end. The experience I've accumulated over this period of time isn't for nothing. In the end, it's still unknown who will emerge victorious. Tang Jung laughed as he looked at Feng Yong, who was sweating like rain. He felt very close, as if he was back in high school. He patted his shoulder and said, It's not worth getting angry over these people. Look at me, the person involved. I'm not angry. Feng Yong said angrily, That's because you, boss, are magnanimous. I don't have that kind of magnanimity. For these despicable people, I must pull them out and parade them through the streets. I definitely can't let them hide in a dark corner and rejoice. Sinosaurus put his arm around Feng Yong's shoulder, as if they were close friends. He said with a common enemy, Feng Yong is right. We can't just let this go. We must investigate to the end. Moreover, we can't let them lead public opinion into the wrong abyss. Those who don't know the truth can easily be incited and turn around to attack you. Tang Jung, of course, wouldn't turn a blind eye to it. He nodded and said, "Fatty, then what do you plan to do? You've been on the internet for so long, you should have a plan." "My plan is very simple. First, we organize a water army to counterattack. The other side also hired a water army. I saw some familiar accounts that were clearly water army, so we can't show weakness. Second, we need to restore the truth and then speak up so that those who don't know the truth won't wrongly accuse you. Third, we need to track down the mastermind and find him in reality. This is the most important thing. As long as we catch him, then everything will be solved." Feng Yong spoke with assurance as if he was confident in his victory. Seeing his eyes shining with incomparable confidence, Tang Zheng was very pleased. This was a completely different person from the previous Feng Yong. He used to be weak and had low self-esteem, but now he was full of confidence. This was a real transformation. The others nodded in agreement. Feng Yong's strategy is very good. Let's follow it. Don't worry about what happened on the internet. I'll take responsibility for it. Of course, you have to tell me in detail what happened at that time. Then, I'll think of a counterattack and destroy the other party's lies." Sinosaurus and the others immediately started talking nonstop. Hearing this, Feng Yong's eyes spat fire as he clenched his fists tightly. "Damn it, this group of people are distorting the truth. We absolutely can't tolerate them. We must make them go down in history and infamy. Furthermore, I have my suspicions. I previously investigated this Park Si-hoon and found out that he's holding a concert in Beijing this weekend, but the ticket sales aren't as good as expected. Hence, I suspect that they're using this incident to create hype. Firstly, it's to win over more fans, and secondly, it's to attract more fans to attend his concert. There's such a thing." Tang Zheng looked at Feng Yong in surprise. He originally thought that Feng Yong was here to study, but he didn't expect that Feng Yong was here to make money. Did he really think that Huaxia people were fools? Anyone can come and take money out of our pockets. Compared to Tanglinger, this Park Si-hoon is trash. Tanglinger's concert has long been sold out, and this person actually wants to use hype to promote his concert. He's too low class. Zhou Yan shook his head and said in disdain. Sinosaurus glared at him and said, "Fourth bro, you're simply tarnishing my goddess by comparing such a person to him." Wang Shiji nodded his head in agreement. "That's right. Tanglinger is a goddess, a fairy. How can a despicable person like Park Si-hoon be mentioned in the same breath as her?" Zhou Yan knew that he had misspoken, so he immediately tried to salvage the situation. "That's right. I was wrong. Linger is holding a concert in Beijing." Feng Yong knew about the relationship between Tanglinger and Tang Zheng, so he asked in astonishment. Seeing that Sinosaurus and the rest didn't seem to know about this, he looked at Tang Zheng curiously. Tang Zheng did not expose him and said, "That's right. I've already gotten the tickets. You can come as well." Feng Yong was overjoyed. "Of course I'll come. When is it?" "It's also this weekend." "That's right. It seems that the two concerts are at the same time. This is really like a competition. When the time comes, we'll let this Korean know what a real celebrity is." Sinosaurus said excitedly as he waved his fist. After listening to the analysis, Tang Zheng no longer underestimated them. These people had sinister intentions, and if he didn't discover it early on, he would probably be kept in the dark. Since this involved Linger, then he would not let his guard down. With a solemn face he instructed, "Fatty, I'll leave this matter to you. As for the investigation of the mastermind, I'll do it myself." "What do you plan to do?" "I'll find this group of people first. Also, don't they like to be unreasonable and not follow the rules? Then I'll give them a taste of their own medicine, and take drastic measures." Tang Zheng's eyes flickered as he said with a smile that was not a smile, "What drastic measures? You'll know when the time comes." Tang Zheng mysteriously smiled. Although the rest were curious, they did not pursue the matter. However, they understood that if Tang Zheng were to take action, then the other party would definitely suffer a huge loss. After the few of them had lunch together, Tang Zheng left the school alone. This was because, according to the preliminary investigation, this Park Si-hoon did not live in the school. Instead, he lived in a large apartment outside. Although it was the first day of school, This fella did not come to class because he was rehearsing for a concert. Ever since the previous incident, he did not appear in the school anymore. The main reason was that most of the students were disgusted with him. He was afraid that he would be beaten up again, and that would be too embarrassing. In fact, he did not go to rehearse. Instead, he hid in his apartment and watched the war on the internet. This matter was planned by him and his assistant. This way, not only could they gain sympathy, but they could also increase their fame and help to sell the concert tickets. Ever since the war on the internet began, the sales of his concert tickets had greatly increased, allowing him to taste the sweetness. Pointing at the screen, he excitedly said to his assistant, Jean Meiji, "Look at how smart we are to turn a bad thing into a good thing. This beating is not in vain. The company will definitely praise me when they know about it. After the concert, we'll summarize our experience and hand it over to the company. At that time, the other artists in the company can also use this method." Lying on his shoulder, Jean Meiji charmingly smiled and said, "Appa is smart. This time, that Tang Zheng has become the target of public criticism. He's going to be drowned by the spit of saliva. Humph, wait until my influence in Huaxia grows. At that time, I'll settle the score with him. From what I heard from Principal Pang, that brat seems to have some background. We can't fight him with strength, so we can only outsmart him," Park Sherhoon hatefully said. Jean Meiji's hand slid across his chest. His chest was so thin that she could see his ribs. It was like a piece of paper, without the strength and beauty of a man. What era are we in now? Who still blindly fights with strength? That's just a brute. Only smart people like Appa who use their brains will be the final winner. Park Sherhoon laughed complacently. He hugged Jean Meiji and kissed her fiercely. Then his big hand went under her clothes. Jean Meiji immediately began to pant. Not long after, the two of them were rolling together. However, the two of them did not notice that there was an additional person at the door. That person was silently watching the two of them with his phone recording everything. Tang Zheng didn't come here to watch the show. He didn't have such a hobby. He just happened to be here. He originally came here to confirm if they were the ones behind the scenes. Now that it was confirmed, he didn't have to worry about his actions anymore. He never expected that Park Sherhoon would have an affair with his assistant. Presumably, those fans who wanted to recommend themselves to him would feel a lot of emotions when they saw this scene. Most importantly, this conversation proved that they were the ones behind the incident. It wasn't like what he said on Weibo. Furthermore, he even fanned the flames with an aggrieved tone. Since that's the case, then it was time to give him a tight slap. Tang Zheng initially thought that this show would last for a long time, but he never expected that it would come to an abrupt end. Looking at the time, Tang Zheng saw that it was 12 seconds. He was speechless and rolled his eyes. This record was probably unbreakable in the world. What a fast shooter. He gave a playful smile, turned around and quietly left the apartment. "Hey Amy, it's me. Do you know about Park Sherhoon's concert?" Tang Zheng called Linger's agent. Amy was promoted after returning from Dianan. Not only was she Linger's agent, but she was also in a management position in the company. He was very familiar with the entertainment industry, and was indeed a capable person. Of course I know. Just talking about this guy makes me angry. He actually wants to compete with our Linger. He purposely set the concert on the same day and in the same city as us. In the past, they even used Linger to create hype, but we ignored them. These people are too low class. Amy complained in a coquettish voice. Oh, there's such a thing. Tang Zheng frowned. So it turned out that they were old rivals. They actually wanted to hitch a ride on Linger's windmill. What wishful thinking. Boss, what's wrong with him? Did he offend you? Amy curiously asked. Did you not pay attention to the war on Weibo? Tang Zheng asked. Boss, you don't know. I've been so busy with the concert these past few days. How could I have time to check Weibo? As Amy spoke, she opened Weibo and screamed the moment she saw it. This Park Sherhoon is too despicable. He actually dared to slander you. Boss, how should we deal with him? Big sister Amy hasn't been in the industry all these years for nothing. How can we let these outsiders be so arrogant? I have a plan to take drastic measures that I need you to take care of. Tang Zheng instructed him bit by bit. Chapter 1051. Park Sherhoon and the others did not continue to confuse the public for long, because Fong Yong had already begun his counterattack step by step. He had hired a large number of internet trolls to counterattack, and restored the original appearance of the matter. Furthermore, Tang Zheng had even posted the contents of the Weibo on the Peking University's campus forum, which had aroused the anger of the students. Many people clearly knew what had happened at that time, so the students rushed to Weibo to fight back. Some people even posted pictures and videos. The evil deeds of Park Sherhoon and the others were immediately exposed, especially his dark history of being arrogant and despotic. Everyone came to a realization. It turned out that he was a habitual offender. Such tactics to garner sympathy and distort the truth were not uncommon. In addition, the videos posted by the students were particularly touching, especially the chorus. The burst of emotions ignited every rational Huaxia citizen. Everyone supported Tang Zheng one-sidedly and even started a hashtag. Park Sherhoon, get out of Huaxia. Both sides entered a white-hot phase. Park Sherhoon's people fought back frantically in an attempt to suppress the other party. However, it was all in vain. That was because a new round of attacks sounded. Fong Yong had released his ultimate weapon, the video recorded by Tang Zheng. Of course, it had been edited, or else it would not have passed the review. However, the edited video clearly explained the cause and effect, especially the incident between Park Sherhoon and Jean Meiji. It immediately blew up the internet. Usually, Park Sherhoon boasted that he was a good man and did not have a girlfriend. It turned out that he had been with his assistant for a long time. Many female fans felt cheated. These fans treated Park Sherhoon as their dream lover and Prince Charming. How could they tolerate their man doing such things with another woman? Women were crazy when they liked someone, but when they hated someone, their methods were even crazier. At this moment, Fong Yong's gentle provocation caused many fans to turn against him. They spontaneously boycotted Park Sherhoon's concert and demanded a refund. This left Park Sherhoon and the rest dumbfounded, especially the video between him and Jean Meiji. That was the key point. How did the other party record it? Moreover, the concert was about to start, but there was a large-scale boycott and refund of tickets. This would cause a bandwagon effect. They were not wrong. Many people followed the bandwagon and refunded tickets. The sales that had originally risen was not worth mentioning at all. Instead, it fell by a lot. Park Sherhoon immediately made a statement to retaliate, but it was quickly drowned out by the curses of his fans. This was the style of brain-dead fans. They would do whatever they wanted and would not listen to any explanation. This time, Park Si-hoon had shot himself in the foot and no longer dared to show his face. However, he also understood that there must be someone fanning the flames. Otherwise, how could his one-sided advantage turn into such a situation? However, he could not figure out how a student could be so capable. In fact, there were many things that he did not know. Bad news came one after another. On the day before the concert, he suddenly received a notice from the organizers. Because of Park Si-hoon's actions, the organizers had suffered a great loss and decided to terminate the concert and ask for a large sum of compensation. In order to hold this concert and enter the Huaxia market, Park Si-hoon had signed many contracts that were disadvantageous to him. However, they still bit their toothpicks. Why? Because they could not bear to part with the huge cake that was Huaxia. One of the clauses was that Park Si-hoon had caused the organizers to suffer a great loss. The organizers had the right to cancel the concert and even ask for a large sum of compensation. Now that this seemingly impossible thing had happened, it was completely out of Park Si-hoon's expectations. Therefore, the organizers' demands were reasonable and legal. They were completely acting according to the contract, leaving Park Si-hoon with no other choice. This was Tang Zheng's method of removing the firewood from under the cauldron. Aimi was the mastermind behind all of this. He now had a wide network, and with the resources that Tang Zheng had given him, he was now influential in the entertainment industry. It was easy for him to screw over Park Si-hoon. Pa pa pa. A series of crisp sounds rang out as Park Si-hoon smashed everything in the apartment. His eyes were filled with hatred and he was like a hungry wolf as he roared. What the hell is going on here? Jean Meiji, have you found out? Jean Meiji was trembling with fear, but at the same time, she was also incomparably indignant as she said, I've investigated clearly, this matter was caused by that Tang Zheng behind the scenes. Moreover, his identity is not ordinary, he has a lot of background. What backing? I'm not sure about the specifics, but he gives off a very mysterious vibe. However, there's one thing I'm sure of. He's related to that Tang Linger. Tang Ling? Is that the woman who started the concert on the same day as me? Yes, that's her. She also just debuted not too long ago. However, the management team behind her is very strong. That's why she's so popular. We originally wanted to use her popularity to create hype, but we didn't succeed in the end. Tang Linger, Tang Zheng. Could it be that they're family? Jean Meiji pondered. I'm not sure about the specifics, but we can't rule out that possibility. Because someone once saw Tang Zheng going in and out of Tang Linger's management company. Therefore, there must be a relationship between the two. Park Si-hoon's eyes flickered with hatred as he fiercely stomped his foot and said, They're purposely suppressing us so that Tang Linger can benefit from it. How can such petty tricks escape my eyes? He never thought that Tang Zheng did not even put him in his eyes. He was just blindly courting death. Appa, what should we do then? Didn't Huaxia have a saying? If he does it on the first day, I'll do it on the 15th. If my concert can't be held, her concert can't be successful either. I'll give her a big gift. What do you want? You'll know when the time comes. Just wait for a good show. It'll definitely be on the front page of the newspaper, haha. Park Si-hoon's eyes burned with madness. The next day, on the day of the concert, many fans did not know that Park Si-hoon's concert was cancelled. Therefore, they arrived at the venue early in the morning, only to find that the doors were tightly shut and a temporary cancellation notice was hung high up. The fans went completely crazy and wanted an explanation. Many fans had already searched for Park Si-hoon's residence. However, when the group of fans swarmed over, they found that the building was empty. Capital City Stadium could hold 100,000 people. Today, a large poster of Tang Linger was pasted outside the stadium early in the morning. Dressed in ancient clothing, she looked like a fairy from a painting. Many people were mesmerized. This was the real fairy sister. When Tang Linger appeared, all the other fairy sisters that were hyped up paled in comparison. No one noticed that a man wearing a baseball cap and a staff uniform had quietly passed through the staff passageway with a black duffel bag in his hand. He avoided the crowd and came to the bottom of the stage. He quietly put the duffel bag in an inconspicuous dark corner under the stage, and then he left in a grandiose manner. All of this happened without anyone noticing. He only stopped when he was a long distance away from the stadium. Under the baseball cap, a pair of eyes flashed with a cold light. He sneered and muttered to himself, Tang Linger, I want your concert to be a splendid fireworks show. In the evening, Tang Zheng, Fang Shishir Yi Dingdang, and a few other classmates arrived at Capital City Stadium. Looking at the long queue of people, Do Long shrunk his neck and said, I originally thought that the few of us would be considered early, but I never thought that these people would come even earlier. In my entire life, this is the first time a big girl has seen a concert on a bridal sedan chair. Haha, if you were a young lady, then you would definitely be alone for the rest of your life. You would never have the chance to sit in a sedan chair. Wang Shiji joked. I'm just making an analogy. Sinosaurus glared at him, then turned to look at Tang Zheng and asked, OL3, where are the concert tickets? We're already at the entrance, and everyone is already lining up to enter. We still don't have tickets. Tang Linger was too busy, so she didn't go home during this period of time. Naturally, he didn't get a ticket, but Linger told him to give it to him at the stadium before the concert started. OL3, why don't you call your friend first? Zhou Yin reminded him. Feng Yong said nonchalantly, Don't worry. If the boss doesn't have a ticket to this concert, then no one in the world will have a ticket. TCH Fatty, aren't you afraid of biting your tongue when you talk big? You don't know how popular this concert is. Although Tang Ling has only debuted for a short time, she has a huge number of fans. Moreover, her voice is too beautiful. How do I describe it? Sinosaurus held it in for a long time before finally thinking of a word. Heavenly music. Listening to her sing is like listening to heavenly music. It's ethereal and elegant, making people forget countless troubles. It can truly cleanse the soul. Seeing Sinosaurus's intoxicated expression, Zhou Yang and Wang Shiji didn't refute him. Instead, they nodded in agreement. Tang Zheng and the others looked at each other in dismay. Speaking of which, they had never heard Linger sing before, so they really didn't know if her singing was good or bad. However, Tang Zheng knew that her voice wasn't bad, so he wasn't worried about her strength. "Boss, you're here?" A person jogged over and waved from afar. Everyone hurriedly turned their heads and happened to see a charming man trotting over. Aimi stopped and panted. She put her hands on her hips and said, "I'm so tired. Aimi, I've been looking for you guys for a long time." "Aimi, are you here to deliver the tickets?" Tang Zheng guessed the purpose of his visit. Aimi smiled and nodded. "Of course. Actually, this is also my negligence. I should have arranged a seat for the boss a long time ago." "Don't be so polite. I was also on a whim. How many people do you have? I'll see if there are enough tickets. If not, I'll go get more." Aimi's gaze swept across the crowd as she asked. "We only have a few people. Are you done looking?" Aimi beamed with joy. "Enough. Boss, I'm really too busy. I'll have to trouble you to go in by yourselves. These tickets are for the best VIP seats. You can go do what you need to do." Tang Zheng took the tickets and waved his hand. Aimi left without stopping. Sinosaurus and the others looked at Tang Zheng suspiciously. Sinosaurus put an arm around Tang Zheng's shoulder and said, "Lao-san, tell us the truth. What kind of relationship do you have to make them take the initiative to hand over the VIP tickets? Also, did that person call you boss? What's going on?" You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.